All right.
This includes developing and writing a manufacturing process,
Okay.
having stability done on every product,
Okay.
and providing samples to the distributors before the product is sent to market. Finally, we have a product monitoring system
Right.
that monitors our products out in the marketplace. We have a team that ensures that our products are maintained to the quality standards that we expect.
Wow. Okay. Also, Herbalife's facilities have, kind of gained this impressive certification. How does this reflect on the product's quality?
Product quality standards are an additional testament to the quality that we establish in our products.
Right.
We validate claims through third-party testing
Okay.
to ensure that our products meet the standards and provide the consistency that we're looking for. Furthermore, what they do is they provide evidence to the distributors that our products are qualified and certified through many different ways.
That's amazing. What a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Gary. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time and effort.
Thank you very much.
I do hope to see you probably taking Herbalife to even greater success and heights under your leadership. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we know about the rigorous quality control processes that ensure Herbalife products meet the highest standards, let's shift our focus to global manufacturing and distribution with David Walsh. David, managing global manufacturing and logistics is such a huge responsibility. How are you ensuring that all of this is running smoothly on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's not about me, it's the team. And I know that sounds a little bit like a cliche, but really working under me and all around me in Herbalife, we do have a fantastic team of people.
Right.
I mean, these are dedicated industry experts all throughout the Herbalife world, and none more so than right here in India. Really, I'm very fortunate to work with leaders and team members who are all so dedicated and innovative and driven and knowledgeable. And those are the ones that make it work. And they work so well together as well. They work so seamlessly together naturally. So it's the combined skills and experience that keep the bar high for Herbalife. And so, I do have a huge responsibility, but I sleep very well at night because I know the A-team is always on the job.
That's really cool. I mean, to have such a good support system is what makes any company super successful. Also, just a quick question, that Herbalife's quality is seeming to exceed all kinds of regulatory standards and requirements. Can you share more about your team's role in this whole scenario?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, I do want to point out that my team works very closely with all the other teams in Herbalife. So quality assurance, regulatory affairs, R&D, the technical teams. And as I said, in my team, but also in those teams, we have really the best industry experts. So we know what good looks like.
Okay.
And we know what great looks like.
Oh, wow.
And we build in great quality by design. So from ideation, if we're working for a new product or a new ingredient or even a new manufacturing process or technology, then from the beginning, we're ensuring that we have products that distributors are going to be delighted with or consumers are going to be delighted with every time.
Really nice speaking with you, David. You've been nothing but phenomenal. And of course, I think as somebody who's a leader of the team, it takes a lot of effort to be able to do what you do, and I think you're doing it great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What an insightful journey it has been today. We started with Mr. Ajay, who set the stage by introducing Herbalife's mission and the incredible leaders driving its vision. From Troy Hick's leadership philosophies and personal fitness mantra, to Gary Swanson's dedication to quality assurance, and to David Walsh's expertise in global manufacturing. We've uncovered what makes Herbalife a true leader in health and wellness. Herbalife's commitment to quality and its gold standard guarantee remain unmatched, ensuring trust and excellence in every product. Thank you for joining us for this exclusive interaction with Herbalife's global leaders. My name is Nayan S. Parekh. Stay healthy, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel.
Three girls who were married in their childhood globally lives in India. Child marriage isn't just a cultural or social issue, it is one of the
One in every 5 girls in India being married off before reaching adulthood, the social evil of child marriage needs critical attention. And that is the purpose of the pivotal Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat campaign launched last month in the presence of civil society members, grassroots advocates and government officials at Vigyan Bhavan. The strongest voice for raising awareness against child marriage came from powerful testimonies of young girls from different states like Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, who shared their personal journeys and struggles.
13 साल की उम्र में शादी होने के बाद फिर जब शादी हुई तो जब मैरिटल रेप था और डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस की हिंसा मैंने खुद सही है।
बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान की शुरुआत की गई है और ये महज एक अभियान नहीं, ये कोई 16 दिनों का 15 दिनों का अभियान नहीं, बल्कि ये निरंतर, जैसे हमने सभी से ये आह्वान भी किया है कि सब लोग, हम सब मिलकर ये निरंतर तब तक इसको जारी रखेंगे जब तक बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत ना हो जाए।
A key feature of the initiative is the launch of the Child Marriage Free Bharat portal, a platform to raise awareness, report cases and monitor progress. The Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat campaign seeks to engage multiple stakeholders in a collective effort to eliminate child marriage.
There are 23.3% children in India are getting married below the age of 18 years. Today is that day where the tide turns in favor of children, and I hope tomorrow will bring a new era of child protection across the nation.
The Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat Abhiyan will focus on districts with a high incidence of child marriage while engaging all stakeholders across the country. The campaign hopes to align itself with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047 by addressing states with a high prevalence of child marriage.
और आगे बढ़ने से पहले आप सभी यानी कि हमारे दर्शकों से अनुरोध है कि आप हमारी इस मुहिम से जुड़े। हम सबको हमारे बच्चों का भविष्य सुरक्षित रखना है और ये साथ मिलकर काम करने में ही मुमकिन है। आप सभी ndtv.com/childmarriagefreeindia पर लॉगिन कर प्लेज ले सकते हैं ताकि बाल विवाह जैसी कुप्रथा पर लगाम लग सके। अब हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं भुवन रिबू, एडवोकेट हैं, एक्टिविस्ट हैं, जस्ट राइट्स फॉर चिल्ड्रन के संस्थापक भी हैं। आपका स्वागत है हमारे स्टूडियो में। सरकार की पहल बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान को भारत में बाल विवाह के प्रचलन के रोक लगाने के लिए एक अहम कदम माना जा रहा है। ऐसे में अब आगे का रोड मैप आपके लिए अब क्या दिखाई दे रहा है?
भारत सरकार की बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान को शुरू करने की पहल न केवल भारत में बल्कि पूरी दुनिया में बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए एक मील का पत्थर साबित होने वाली है। बाल विवाह कोई भारतीय अकेली समस्या नहीं है, ये पूरे विश्व में व्याप्त है। लेकिन भारत में पहली बार न केवल समाज, न केवल कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के इस पे अहम फैसले आए हैं, बल्कि पूरी सरकार ने इस पे जो कदम उठाया कि हम भारत से बाल विवाह को 2030 से पहले खत्म करके दम लेंगे, ये एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण कदम है। आने वाले समय में न केवल जागरूकता होगी, न केवल गांव-गांव में लोग इस पे शपथ लेंगे, 25 करोड़ से ज्यादा लोगों तक ये अभियान पहुंच चुका है और पहुंचने वाला है। तो अगर इतनी बड़ी संख्या में देश के हर गांव में, हर स्कूल में बच्चों के बीच में जागरूकता होगी, अगर हर पंडित, हर मौलाना, हर चर्च का पादरी, हर धर्मगुरु इसके खिलाफ आवाज उठाने लगेगा, अगर हर बैंड वाला, हर हलवाई, हर वो व्यक्ति जो कि समाज में शादी को किसी भी तरह से मदद करता है, वो अगर ये पूछने लगे कि ये बच्चों की उम्र क्या है जिसके लिए मैं ये बैंड देने वाला हूं, ये घोड़ी देने वाला हूं। भारत में कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं है शादी, ये एक समाज का उत्सव है और समाज के इस उत्सव को किसी भी तरह से बच्चियों के बलात्कार के जघन्य अपराध का जरिया नहीं बनाया जा सकता। तो समाज इसमें अब आगे बढ़ के आएगा और सरकार ने ये कह दिया है कि हम आपके साथ हैं, सरकार द्वारा शुरू किया गया बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान न केवल पूरे देश को यह दिशा दे रहा है कि सरकार भी इसमें साथ है, समाज तो आगे बढ़ेगा ही। और कल अगर कोई बच्चा फोन करता है, कल कोई सामाजिक संगठन यदि इसके खिलाफ आवाज उठाता है, कल यदि कोई पंडित, कोई मौलाना साहब ये कहते हैं कि हम ये शादी नहीं करेंगे, तो उसके पीछे कानून का पूरा जोर है। कानून, समाज, सरकार और हम सब बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए तत्पर हैं। आज ये साबित हो गया।
Now, Bhuvan ji, the Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat campaign, it's built on the foundation of relentless hard work that's been done by various NGOs, your own organization, Just Rights for Children. So now going forward, how do you think you can use civil society as well as other NGOs that are working on this to really amplify this entire campaign and the messaging?
Child marriage is an age-old problem, and efforts have been undertaken to solve this crime and solve this human rights abuse in its worst form from at least 200 years. In the last 200 years in India,
Yes.
efforts have been made by various stalwarts. Today we have reached that tipping point where there is a whole of society and a whole of government approach which has come together. This will usher in a new culture, a new era of accountability, a new era of action. This is the tipping point to end child marriage. We are living it right now, because for the first time we have scientifically understood that the problem is existing in the worst 330 odd districts, and if we are able to reduce this by 70% in these districts, we will reach the tipping point of ending child marriage, and child marriage prevalence will become 2.9% over the next 5 years. So we have not only ushered this in through a lot of emotion, through the hard work and efforts by these ladies that you are seeing on the screen,
Yes.
all around us. These women started this campaign. They actually took the first steps to light this fire, and this spark has become a wildfire not only in India but across the world. It started from India, but in the last 1 month, in 39 countries, people have taken the pledge. Countries like Burkina Faso, Democratic Republic of Congo, countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, countries whose names sometimes we have not heard, are now looking at India. India has not only become the Vishwa Guru in other things, but this is India's message to the world in the 21st century, that we will end child marriage now through this collective accountability and responsibility. So this is changing as we are speaking.
जी बिल्कुल। और भुवन जी, आपके जीवन का भी लक्ष्य रहा कि हमारे देश में बाल विवाह पूरी तरह से रुक जाए, उसकी रोक लगे। और ऐसे में आपकी अपनी जर्नी कैसे रही है अपने लक्ष्य तक धीरे धीरे पहुंचने में, और जो राष्ट्रीय अभियान अब भारत सरकार का है वो कैसे आपके अपने अभियान से जुड़ रहा है?
आज से करीब 12-14 वर्ष पूर्व एक बहुत ही सीनियर पुलिस अधिकारी ने मुझे फ़ोन किया और कहा कि एक बिटिया की शादी होने वाली है अंडमान में, जिसने पुलिस को कंप्लेंट की है ऑफिशियली कि मुझे शादी से बचाया जाए, हम क्या कर सकते हैं। मैंने कहा आप तुरंत कार्रवाई कर दीजिए। अब दुर्भाग्य ये था कि भारत का कानून उस वक्त तक ऐसी कोई बेटी जिसकी शादी होने वाली है उसकी सुरक्षा के लिए कोई कदम नहीं उठा रहा था, कोई कानून में प्रावधान ही नहीं था। पुलिस एफआईआर कब काट सकती है? तब काटेगी जब शादी हो चुकी है। तो अपराध के बाद तो पुलिस का रोल है, लेकिन अपराध को रोकने के लिए हम सिर्फ माता पिता को समझा सकते थे। तो हमने किया, माता पिता को समझाया गया, पुलिस अधिकारी वहां गए, और बहुत ही दुख की बात यह थी कि उस बेटी की शादी उन्होंने अंडमान से निकाल के तमिलनाडु लाए और तमिलनाडु में कर दी 2 महीने बाद। इस बच्ची ने उस पुलिस अधिकारी को फ़ोन किया और कहा कि तुम्हारा होने का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं। वो वहाँ के, उन्होंने मुझे फ़ोन किया और कहा तुम छोड़ दो ये सब जो तुम्हारा ज्ञान है ये बेकार है, ये जितना भी तुम बाल अधिकारों की सुरक्षा की कानूनों की बात करते हो, अगर हम उस बच्ची को बचाने में नाकामयाब हो गए तो अब फायदा क्या है? वो बेटी तो फोन करके कह रही है कि कोई तुक नहीं है। इस घटना के कुछ वर्ष के पश्चात भारत में जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट, जो निर्भया के कांड के बाद एक पूरा बदलाव आया, पूरे मूलभूत परिवर्तन हुए कानूनों में, उसमें ये एक बदलाव था जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट का। मैंने उसकी ड्राफ्टिंग में सरकार की मदद की थी। तो मैंने तब सरकार को ये सुझाव दिया कि एक ऐसी बेटी जो कि शादी जिसकी होने वाली है, हु इज एट इमिनेंट रिस्क ऑफ मैरिज, शुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ चाइल्ड इन नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन, जिसको सरकार उसकी सुरक्षा के लिए उसके माता पिता से उसकी कस्टडी ले सकती है। ये कानून में बदलाव हुआ, आज ये बदलाव है। ये 2015-16 की बात है। और शादी अगर कर दी जाए तो माता पिता के ऊपर तभी कानून में बदलाव आया कि एक क्रूरटी माना जाएगा। 2016 में हमने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ये याचिका दायर की कि अगर किसी बच्ची के साथ शादी होने के बाद भी कोई सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स या यौन संबंध स्थापित करता है तो इसे बलात्कार माना जाए, इसको पॉक्सो की श्रेणी में रखा जाए। भारत के सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 2016 में इस पे फैसला दिया। आज भारत में ये आईपीसी की प्रॉपर ऑफेंस है। सेक्शन 63 जो बीएनएस अभी आया है, भारतीय न्याय संहिता में लिखा गया कि अगर सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स होता है और शादी के भीतर भी होता है तो ये रेप माना जाएगा। तो ये धीरे धीरे करके हमने कानूनों को बदला। अब उस बेटी को तो हम नहीं बचा पाए, लेकिन भारत की तमाम बेटियां जिनको बचाने की ये मुहिम जारी है और शुरू हुई है, पिछले एक साल में 2,15,790 बेटियों की शादी हमारे संगठनों ने सरकार की मदद से जाके न केवल रोकी है, बल्कि माता पिता को उसके बारे में जागरूक करा के उनसे अंडरटेकिंग लिखवाई है कि शादी हो गई तो तुम जेल चले जाओगे जी। इससे समाज में एक नए जागरण, एक नए किस्म के जो कानून के प्रति रिस्पेक्ट है उसका एक भाव जागृत हो रहा है। तो मुझे लगता है इसी दिशा में आगे हम बढ़ेंगे तो कामयाबी जल्दी मिलेगी।
In fact, we want to talk more about that. We've just spoken about how child marriage is one of the worst forms of human rights abuse, robbing children of their childhood, education, health and freedom. But there are girls whose courage to fight against child marriage, sometimes despite overwhelming opposition, shows that change is possible even in the most difficult circumstances. We just heard from Bhuvanji regarding that. Now, these girls represent hope and resilience in the face of deeply entrenched societal norms. Radha and Preeti, their names have been changed to protect their identity, are among them. This is their story.
Fourteen-year-old Radha's marriage was fixed by her father while her mother was staying away from home because of work. Radha tried to resist, but her alcoholic father did not listen and even threatened to poison her food if she refused to marry. Alone and vulnerable, Radha gathered the courage to take charge of her situation. One day, on the pretext of going out to buy groceries, Radha approached the deputy sarpanch of her village and told him about her situation.
बच्ची बहुत डरी सहमी हुई थी, रो रही थी। फोन पे हमके रो कर बहुत बात बताई कि इसी से हम शादी नहीं करना चाहते हैं, आगे पढ़ना चाहते हैं। हम दोनों आदमी मिलकर के निर्देश को खबर दिए, जो मैडम लोग हैं ये वहाँ से आए, कुछ हमारे जीविका के लोग भी हैं इसमें।
Upon receiving this information, the NGO Nirdesh, a partner of Just Rights for Children, swung into action. They took the paperwork and submitted it to the Child Marriage Prohibition Officer of her district.
बच्ची अपना आवेदन लिख करके दी जो उसके साथ घटना घटी थी। बच्ची का कहना था जो उसमें हमें ज़बरदस्ती शादी किया जा रहा था और लड़का बहुत उम्र में ज़्यादा था और दिमाग उसके पास नहीं था और वो शादी उसी रात होने वाली थी। तो वो लड़की अपने उप मुखिया के पास जाके बताई कि चाचा हमें बचा लीजिए, हमें शादी जबरन किया जा रहा है।
The team from Nirdesh, along with the police, counseled Radha and her family, made them sign an undertaking and stopped her marriage. They also arranged a safe shelter for Radha away from her father. Radha is now back in school and regular follow-ups are done to check her situation. Over 1,000 kilometers to the west from Rajasthan's Tonk emerges another story of grit, of how a 15-year-old Preeti's determination not to get married was supported by a local NGO. It was during Akshaya Tritiya, a period considered auspicious for marriages, that Preeti's parents decided to get Preeti and her elder sisters married. One day while returning from school, Preeti came across NGO workers from Senco Gold, a partner of Just Rights for Children, talking about the ill effects of child marriage at an Anganwadi center. Mustering up courage, Preeti approached the workers and told them about her own situation.
तो सेंको गोल्ड संस्था द्वारा जो मैसेज मुझे मिला किरण जी शर्मा के द्वारा, उस पर मैंने संज्ञान लिया। उस स्थिति में मैंने हमारे वार्ड पंच महोदय और वहाँ पे स्थानीय ग्रामीण से संपर्क किया, तो वहाँ पे शादी थी। उसकी सूचना के तहत मैंने मौके पे गया, उनसे बातचीत भी की।
चुनौतियाँ बहुत सारी हमारे सामने आई, जैसे कि आर्थिक स्थिति बहुत कमजोर थी उनकी। हमने फिर भी समझा बुझाकर उनको बताया कि जैसे मेहनत मजदूरी कर रहे हैं, सोचो एक बार ज्यादा हो जाएगा थोड़ा सा, कैसे क्या करोगे। अगर आपकी बच्ची पढ़ लिख जाएगी, नौकरी लग जाएगी, तो कल को उसकी शादी तक वो ही मैनेज कर सकती है।
Preeti's marriage was stopped, her education was resumed and her parents were made to sign an undertaking. Survivors like Radha and Preeti not only reclaim their lives but also become powerful voices in the fight against child marriage. It is important that their stories be told as examples of what can be achieved when all of society acts together. If girls are educated and the ecosystems from which they derive their courage are strengthened, more and more Radhas and Preetis will emerge from every corner of the country, taking this fight towards our united goal of ending child marriage in India.
बाल विवाह पर रोक लगे, यही है हमारी मुहिम का मकसद। और हमारे साथ भुवन जी लगातार बने हुए, हमने ये कहानियाँ देख रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं आपसे भी। आपने एक बड़ी बात कही इस कहानी से पहले कि प्रोसिक्यूशन एक अहम पहलू हो सकता है इस पर लगाम लगाने के लिए, लेकिन असम में जब इसको इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया तो इसे समाज ने सीधे सीधे ह्यूमन राइट्स से भी जोड़कर देखा और तमाम सवाल उठाए। तो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को लेकर वो कश्मकश अभी भी जारी है।
शायद इसलिए क्योंकि हम शायद इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को समझ नहीं पा रहे। सबसे पहला सबसे बुरा यहाँ अपराध क्या है? उस बच्ची जो 12 साल की है उसका यौन शोषण, उसका बलात्कार, उसको बेच दिया जाना, उसको उसकी पूरी तरह से स्वतंत्रता की हानि, उसके सारे मौलिक अधिकारों का हनन। इससे ज्यादा बड़ा अपराध क्या होगा और इससे बड़ा ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशन क्या होगा? हम ह्यूमन राइट्स की बात करते हैं उसके लिए जो अपराधी है, हम उसकी बात नहीं करते जिसके ऊपर अपराध हुआ है। अगर आसाम में बच्चियों को बचाने के लिए सरकार ने सख्त कदम उठाए और कानूनी कार्रवाई की, तो जिसको जेल भेजा गया वो कोई बच्चा नहीं था, वो एक 32 साल का, 35 साल का, 38 साल का आदमी है जो कि 13-14 साल की बच्ची का बलात्कार कर रहा है। और इसका नतीजा ये निकला, हमारा एक साथी संगठन है इंडिया चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन, उसकी रिपोर्ट आई अभी 2 साल बाद कि 2021 की तुलना में आसाम में 81% गिरावट आई है बाल विवाह की दर में। आसाम जहां पे धुबरी जैसे जिलों में 55% थी बाल विवाह की दर। बाल विवाह की दर का मतलब है 100 में से 55 लड़कियों की शादी हो जाती थी बाल विवाह की तरह। आज वहां 81% कानून में कमी आई है कानून के अनुपालन से। सरकार ने अभी जो ये कदम उठाया, ये अकेला कदम नहीं है कि सिर्फ कानून का डंडा चलेगा और कुछ नहीं होगा। जहां एक तरफ ये कहा गया कि जो अपराधी है उसे सजा मिले, लेकिन बच्चियों के पुनर्वास के लिए एक नई स्कीम लाई गए। इसके अलावा बच्चियों की शिक्षा के लिए अभी वहां पे एक स्कॉलरशिप स्कीम शुरू हुई है, जिसमें यह है कि हर बेटी जो कि 8वीं के बाद पढ़ेगी, 14 तक तो हमारे यहाँ भारत में मौलिक अधिकार है, 14 के बाद बच्ची क्या करे? तो शिक्षा को मौलिक अधिकार जब तक हम नहीं बनाते 18 साल तक, तब तक तो ये लड़ाई चलती रहेगी। तो सरकारों ने उसका एक तरीका निकाला और ये किया कि एक स्कॉलरशिप दे दो, एक स्टाइपेंड दे दो, कंडीशनल कैश ट्रांसफर दे दो, ताकि बेटी स्कूल में लगातार बनी रह सके। तो अभी आसाम में वो भी होने लगा। यदि एक व्यक्ति जो कि शादी में खाना भी खा रहा है, उसको हमने कहा कि तुम अपराधी हो अगर तुम बताते नहीं, तुम अगर रिपोर्ट नहीं करते, और यदि उस व्यक्ति को जो कानून बन चुका उसके ऊपर यदि अनुपालन हो जाए तो हम सवाल उठाएं उसके ह्यूमन राइट्स का वायलेशन है, ये कैसा कानून है? हमें कानून का जो रूल ऑफ लॉ है, जो कि एसेंस है सोसाइटी का, उसके लिए हमें पहले रूल ऑफ लॉ भी समझना पड़ेगा। अभी जो भारत सरकार ने बाल विवाह मुक्त अभियान को शुरू किया है, ये एक लार्जर पर्सपेक्टिव में जो एक स्ट्रैटेजिक बात हम कर रहे थे कि पॉलिसी, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, कैपेसिटी, नॉलेज, इकोसिस्टम, एक शब्द मैंने अभी देखा आप लोगों ने कहा, इकोसिस्टम को पूरी तरह से चैलेंज करते हुए उस इकोसिस्टम को डिस्ट्रॉय करने की जरूरत है जहां बाल विवाह पनपते हैं। और टेक्नोलॉजी का प्रयोग करके अर्जेंसी के साथ यदि हम बच्चों को सुरक्षित रखेंगे तभी इसमें होगा। आसाम की हम बात कर रहे हैं, आसाम में तो बाल विवाह की दर में कमी ही इसलिए आई है क्योंकि ये डर पैदा हुआ है। तुलसी रामायण में कहा गया भय बिन होए न प्रीत, तो ये भय बिन होए न प्रीत के बिना हम कैसे बात कर लेंगे।
प्रोसिक्यूशन एक अहम मुद्दा है जिस पर लगातार काम होना चाहिए ताकि डर बना रहे, क्योंकि जो भी हो रहा है वो गैर कानूनी है। हम लगातार जुड़े हुए हैं और टेलीथॉन से जो अगले 2 घंटे तक हमारे सभी नेटवर्क पर जारी रहेगा। एनडीटीवी इंडिया पर हम ले रहे एक छोटा सा ब्रेक, लेकिन ये टेलीथॉन जारी है एनडीटीवी 24/7 और एनडीटीवी प्रॉफिट पर। भुवन जी, असम जैसे राज्यों में बाल विवाह के प्रचलन को लेकर रोक लगाने के लिए काम तो हुआ है, लेकिन एक और राज्य है उत्तराखंड, जहां पर यूनिवर्सल सिविल कोड जनवरी में लागू हो जाएगा। इसमें बाल विवाह को रोकने के भी प्रावधान है और यही है अगला मुद्दा चर्चा का। हमारे साथ उत्तराखंड के मुख्यमंत्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी जी हैं। धामी जी, बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने हमारी इस मुहिम के लिए वक्त निकाला है। पिछले कुछ सालों में बाल विवाह को खत्म करने के लिए आपके राज्य ने क्या क्या रणनीतियां अपनाई? क्या आप कुछ ऐसे कदम बता सकते हैं जो खास तौर से आपके राज्य में सफल रहे?
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो क्या है कि हमारे राज्य के अंदर बहुत जागरूकता है। भारत सरकार के द्वारा जो भी कार्यक्रम चलाए जाते हैं उन सभी कार्यक्रमों को बहुत ही सक्रियता से क्रियान्वित कराया जाता है। और बाल विवाह के मामले हमारे यहाँ पहले से कम आए हैं क्योंकि सभी शिक्षित लोग हैं, जागरूक हैं, लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी प्रेम विवाह इत्यादि के जो मामले आते हैं उसमें भी हम पूरा संज्ञान लेते हैं। और हमारे पूरे बाल विकास विभाग की टीम लगातार काम करती है, सुपरवाइज़र काम करते हैं, सीडीपीओ काम करते हैं, जिला कार्यक्रम अधिकारी काम करते हैं। एक बड़ी संख्या हमारी जो है महिला एवं बाल कल्याण विभाग की इसमें लगातार लोगों को जागरूक करती है और कहीं ऐसे मामले आते हैं तो उनका संज्ञान भी हम लेते हैं।
जी धामी जी, सरकार ने पिछले महीने देश भर में बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान शुरू किया। आपको क्या लगता है कि ये देश व्यापी अभियान किस तरह से आपके ये जो प्रयास हो रहे हैं इसमें मदद करेगा?
देखिए, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में 2014 के बाद सभी अभियान बहुत ही समाज को बदलने का काम कर रहे हैं, समाज में क्रांति लाने का काम कर रहे हैं। और भारत सरकार का ये अभियान भी निश्चित रूप से सभी राज्यों को फ़ायदा देगा। हमारे राज्य में भी हम इसका भरपूर उपयोग करेंगे, भरपूर लोगों तक पहुंचाने का काम करेंगे।
जी धामी जी, सरकार और जो नागरिक और सामाजिक संगठन हैं, जो उनके बीच का सहयोग है, जो कोलैबोरेशन है, आपके राज्य में बाल विवाह को खत्म करने के लिए कैसे मदद कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, मैंने पहले ही कहा कि हमारे यहाँ जो बहुत न्यून स्तर पर इस प्रकार की चीज़ें आती हैं उसको हम लगातार जनसंवाद से, आपस में नागरिकों के संगठनों के साथ बात करके उसको ठीक प्रकार से आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। और कहीं पर भी ये चीज़ें हमारे यहाँ बहुत कम हैं, बहुत न्यूनता में हैं और आगे भी हमारा प्रयास होगा कि ये पूरी तरह से बाल विवाह मुक्त हमारा राज्य बने।
बहुत शुक्रिया इस बातचीत के लिए और अपनी रणनीतियां हमारे साथ साझा करने के लिए। भुवन जी, आपने सुना मुख्यमंत्री को, कोशिशें हो रही हैं, सरकार भी लगातार, चाहे वो राज्य सरकार हो, भारत सरकार हो, लगातार लगी हुई है कि इस कुप्रथा पर एक फुल स्टॉप लगे। भुवन जी, आप हमारी इस टेलीथॉन से लगातार जुड़े रहें। देश भर में बाल विवाह के प्रचलन पर रोकथाम के लिए हर कोई प्रतिबद्ध है। आज दिन भर देश के अलग अलग इलाकों में हमारी इस मुहिम से लोग जुड़ रहे हैं, इस पर हम नजर डालेंगे। लेकिन आप सभी से भी अनुरोध है कि आप भी हमारी इस मुहिम से जुड़ें, प्लेज लें ndtv.com/childmarriage फ्री इंडिया पर लॉग इन कर।
So do log in and do register your pledge there. The fight against child marriage is now India's fight against child marriage, and voices in support of the campaign are growing from policymakers to the law and from civil society organizations to the public at large. Now we just heard the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. As we go into a short break, here are some voices from Parliament.
देखिए, बाल विवाह एक ऐसा गुनाह है जो मतलब आपके अधिकार को, आपको उसकी जानकारी होने से पहले आपसे आपके अधिकार छीन लेता है। तो बहुत इसमें हमने बढ़ोतरी पाई है, काफ़ी हद तक बाल विवाह कम हुए हैं और हमें उम्मीद है कि हम सब जब मिलकर काम करेंगे तो हम इसका खात्मा जल्द से जल्द करा पाएंगे। और ये जो मुद्दा है, इसमें विपक्ष हो या सत्ता हो, ये एक ऐसा मुद्दा है जिसके लिए सब लोग एकजुट होकर काम और प्रयास करेंगे। इसमें हमें साथ ही प्रशासन और पुलिस की ज़रूरत है। मुझे लगता है सब लोग इकट्ठे काम करेंगे तो जल्दी हम इसका निस्तारण कर लेंगे।
It needs multi-pronged action. It can't be only one single activity that can bring it down. Yes, obviously educating the parents is very important. Definitely, and also educating the parents and also making sure you follow up with the schools that dropouts won't happen, and making sure enough scholarships are given to the girl children so that they can go and pursue their higher education. And also, this is all the encouragement and education that can be given. But on the other side, we also need to have a stronger laws to make sure that it acts as a deterrent. That if anyone goes ahead with this child marriage, the law can act very fast. If that can be implemented, definitely. Some sort of a it will definitely go in a right direction, but for that it can't be one activity. It has to be multiple activities that has to happen.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Samina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
We set you up for the day's trade. 30 calls before the markets open on NDTV Profit.
Jubilant food above a 600 level on Friday.
Wipro can be first trade to buy
all commodities, but in that Vedanta looks good.
Our experts give you the top stock ideas to prepare you for the day.
ICICI Lombard stocks hit the first target.
It has given a very good momentum with good volume.
Don't miss the chance to make the right moves. Only on NDTV Profit, where winners are made before the bell rings.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
On 27th of November, at the call of Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat, Andhra Pradesh government has taken up this as a gigantic movement within all the centers of Anganwadis, 55,000 of them, and all the schools, covering almost 44,000 schools, encompassing 32 lakhs of students, and remaining parents and then elders of the villages at all the levels, village, mandal, division, as well as district and state levels. Every one of them came together, encompassing almost 7 different departments, and they have taken the pledge that they wouldn't take or encourage the Bal Vivah before the determined age. So the strategy of the AP government would be involving the local self-government, involving all the departments possible at each level, and then going towards eradication of the child marriage and teenage pregnancy in a span of a year or two.
Of course, child marriage, the main problem for girl is the health issue, and that she doesn't get the education, the full education, and also there are a lot of development issues involved in child marriage, and that is why preventive measures are very important and essential to safeguard girls from getting into child marriage. Apart from awareness program, there should be emphasis at each of the schools how about from the very beginning, and also if we can incorporate in the schools about the merits of child marriage, it will be helpful.
Welcome back now to our special show on ending child marriage. We've been talking about the damage this evil does to society. Now that we've set the context of what this campaign has set out to achieve, how do we percolate right down to the root of child marriage, to the families and communities where such decisions are taken? How do we create a ripple effect from the national launch of this campaign down to the states and districts, the Gram Sabhas and Panchayats, the most immediate level of governance, taking the initiative to the grassroots level? Well, to talk more about this and explain and share their experiences, we're now joined by Dr. K.S. Jawahar Reddy, former Chief Secretary to Government of Andhra Pradesh, Manish Sharma, Senior Director, Association for Voluntary Action, and Dr. Benudhar Senapati, CEO, Ruchika Social Service Organization, Bhubaneswar. Thank you so much all for joining us in this program. And Dr. Reddy, I'd like to begin with you. You've actively worked to stop child marriage, including most recently as Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh, where you use the law and welfare schemes as deterrents. Could you tell us about some of the strategies that you adopted?
Good evening to the program anchors and the participants. In fact, last year, in consultation with UNICEF, we started working on this child marriage issue. So in fact, when UNICEF highlighted that a good number of districts in Andhra Pradesh at that time had child marriages above the national average. So luckily, we had at that point of time 6 lady officers as collectors of the districts and 3 IPS officers, lady IPS officers as superintendents of police. So I constituted a committee consisting of the 6 collectors and 3 SPs. And then they themselves deliberated with all the stakeholders and they gave a very detailed and comprehensive report based on which we issued a government order sometime in September 2023. And we started, in fact, the moment we launched this study by this committee of officers, simultaneously we started reviewing this social issue very closely. We used to have video conferences with the collectors once in 15 days. So we had set up some call centers, especially those distress calls which we used to get. So we used to attend to them. In fact, some of the success stories which we have highlighted in the program, we also had our share of success stories where one girl in Kurnool district, who was studying in 10th class, so she was kind of had the threat of getting married. So then the administration intervened, and then we kind of prevailed upon the village community, and everybody prevailed upon the parents, and the marriage was stopped. And I'm happy to share with you that this girl in the KGVB, Kasturiba Vidya Peeth, she topped the intermediate exam in the district level. So we had such success stories in other districts also. So it's not only the law, but also it's more of a community awareness, and the threat of law should be there.
Right.
So, and then we had a very comprehensive action plan. And what are the steps that we need to take? As the representative of civil society organization was mentioning earlier in the show, that there are a lot of stakeholders, including the priests, the temple management.
रेड्डी, आपने रास्ता दिखाया है. अगर मंशा हो तो उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना नामुमकिन नहीं है. अब हम कुछ तस्वीरें भी देख लेते हैं, वो तस्वीरें जो इस वक्त ज़रूरी हैं. ये तस्वीरें हम तक पहुंच रही हैं, राजगढ़ ज़िले की बच्चियों की हैं जो प्लेज ले रही हैं बाल विवाह के प्रचलन के खिलाफ. हाल ही में मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स के जरिए ये जानकारी सामने आई थी कि इस इलाके में बचपन में ही लड़कियों की सगाई कर दी जाती है, कई तो 1-2 साल की उम्र में ही. जानकारी के मुताबिक वहां हर दूसरे बच्चे की सगाई कर दी जाती है और पैरों में उनके चांदी के कड़े पहना दिए जाते हैं ताकि समाज में सबको ये जानकारी मिल जाए कि इस बच्चे की सगाई हो चुकी है. हाल ही में वहां एक शादी के सम्मेलन के बारे में जानकारी मिली, तब अहिंसा नाम की संस्था जो जस्ट राइट्स फॉर चिल्ड्रन की एक पार्टनर एनजीओ है वहां पहुंची और पुलिस और दूसरे कार्यकर्ताओं की मदद से वहां से 80 बच्चों को बचाया है.
बाल विवाह के मामले में राजगढ़ से मतलब ये मान के चलो कि भारत के सबसे ऊंचे पायदान पर देखा जा रहा है और हर वैवाहिक सीजन में यहाँ पे बाल विवाह की कार्यवाही होती है. जैसे पिछले साल की अगर बात करेंगे तो पिछले 2-3 सालों में 100 से अधिक बाल विवाह रुकवाए थे, 6-7 FIR भी दर्ज कराई थी. और इस वर्ष की बात करें तो विगत 15 दिनों में 24 तारीख से अभी तक लगभग 80 बच्चों का विवाह प्रशासन के साथ मिलकर रुकवाया है. महिला बाल विकास विभाग, पुलिस विभाग के साथ में हमारी टीम ने, अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी ने रुकवाया है. और हाल ही में हमारा जो 50 गांव में एक अभियान चल रहा है जस्ट राइट फॉर चिल्ड्रन का, कि 50 गांव में हम बाल विवाह को लेकर बाल विवाह मुक्त राजगढ़ बनाने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. महिला बाल विकास पुलिस विभाग का हमें लगातार सहयोग मिलता है और काफी पॉजिटिव सहयोग रहता है उनका. और जैसे हम लोग उनसे मदद मांगते हैं तुरंत वो भी मदद करते हैं और मतलब एक दूसरे का सहयोग से हम लोग काम कर पाते हैं.
मनीष जी, आपने ये तस्वीरें देखी, बहुत कुछ ज़मीन पर काम हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं कि कोई कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. लेकिन क्या जो हमारा राष्ट्रीय अभियान है भारत सरकार का और साथ में सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो गाइडलाइंस अब हाल ही में आई हैं, उसका असर ज़मीन पर हो रहा है और ज़्यादा बल मिल रहा है इस तरह की मुहिम को?
निश्चित तौर पर मैं ये कह सकता हूँ कि अभी रिसेंटली जो है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने जो बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत अभियान शुरू किया है, आने वाले समय में इसका बहुत ही अच्छा असर देखने को हमें मिलेगा। आंकड़े बताते हैं कि भारत में लगभग हर चौथाई में 23.3 बच्चियों की शादी हो जाती है बालिग होने से पहले। ये बहुत बड़ी संख्या है। भारत सरकार या मोदी सरकार का जो ये नारा है, बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, अगर बेटियां पढ़ेंगी नहीं, उनकी बाल विवाह कर दिया जाएगा, तो निश्चित तौर पर भारत पे इसका असर देखने को मिलेगा। अभी जो शुरुआत उन्होंने करी है भारत सरकार ने, इसमें पंचायतों को साथ लेकर के वो चल रहे हैं, सिविल सोसाइटीज़ को साथ में लेकर के वो चल रहे हैं, स्कूल्स को लेकर के साथ में चल रहे हैं, और प्रशासनिक ताकत इस पर पूरी लगी हुई है। कई राज्यों में इसको हम देख रहे हैं अभी कि राज्य सरकारों ने भी इसको लेकर के एक्शन स्टार्ट किए हुए हैं। और चूँकि अगर बच्चियों का इस तरीके से होगा कि 12वीं तक बच्चियाँ स्कूल नहीं जाएंगी, उनका बड़ा क्लियर कट कॉन्सेप्ट ये आया है, बातचीत जब हमारी हो रही सरकार के कई लोगों से, कई अधिकारियों से, तो ये है कि भाई जो चाइल्ड मैरिज प्रोविजन ऑफिसर्स हैं, उनकी ट्रेनिंग भी वो लोग कराने वाले हैं। ट्रेनिंग उनकी हो रही, पंचायतों की जवाबदेही तय हो रही है, और इसमें जो सिविल सोसाइटी के लोग हैं या धार्मिक नेता जो लोग हैं या सरकार या इनका जिनका असर होता है समाज में, ऐसे लोगों को अपने साथ जोड़ने के साथ वो लोग इस अभियान का शुरुआत किया हुआ है। जी, आपका जो दूसरा सवाल था सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय का, तो देखिए ये तय है कि भारत सरकार और न्यायालय बच्चों के मामले में बहुत ही संवेदनशीलता के साथ इस वक्त काम कर रहे हैं। अभी हाल फिलहाल में लगभग 5 ऐसे ऐतिहासिक निर्णय दिए हैं कोर्ट ने कि जिससे पता चलता है कि बच्चों के प्रति उनका कंसर्न है।
बिल्कुल।
चाइल्ड मैरिज पे जो भी उनका रिसेंटली जो जजमेंट आया 18 अक्टूबर को, उसमें उन्होंने बड़ा साफ साफ कहा है कि भाई आपको जो है सरकारों को एक एक्शन प्लान बनाना है। चाइल्ड मैरिज प्रोविजन ऑफिसर की ट्रेनिंग की वो बात कर रहे हैं। आप ये भी कह रहे हैं कि जो है ऐसे जो सिविल सोसाइटीज़ हैं उनको साथ लेकर के चलने की बात कर रहे हैं। खास करके जहाँ पर संभावनाएं ज़्यादा हैं, अब वो ऐसे ज़िले जहाँ पर बाल विवाह की संभावना ज़्यादा है, ज़्यादा हो रहा है, वहाँ पर स्कूली पाठ्यक्रम में बाल विवाह को भी चैप्टर देने की वो बात कर रहे हैं।
So very important has to be a whole holistic sort of effort
की
by
बात कर रहे हैं। और चूंकि कानून का भय भी हो, कानून का इकबाल भी रहे, तो उन्होंने एक्शंस की भी बात कही।
तालमेल होकर चल रहा है, जमीन पर काम हो रहा है। डॉक्टर सेनापति मनीष जी हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं। डॉक्टर सेनापति, आप उड़ीसा में जमीन पर काम कर रहे हैं, आप खुद लोगों को ट्रेन करते हैं जो बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। आप अपने रिसोर्सेस कैसे स्ट्रेंथन करते हैं, लोकल पुलिस पंचायत को कैसे जोड़ रहे हैं ताकि वो अपने ही समाज के लोगों को समझाएं कि बाल विवाह गैर कानूनी है, एक कुप्रथा है जो आगे नहीं चल सकती?
Actually, what we did when we started our program, we thought that it is not possible to get the achievement unless we include the district administration, block administration, and Panchayat Raj people. So, right from the beginning, when we launched the program, we took police in hand, and we also took OCPCR, Odisha State Commission for Protection of the Child Rights, with us, and district POs and district collectors and all the district administration, the people involved in the district administration and Panchayat Raj authorities. So we took everyone with us so that when we started the work, it was easier for us to achieve. Because now, if you see in all the villages where we are working, and probably in almost 25 districts, the NGOs who are working with just rights for children, भुवन जी जो अभी बात कर रहे थे, उनका साथ जो मिलके हम काम कर रहे हैं, वो जगह पे we all work together with the district administration. That is part one. Now, part two is that we also give training to VLCPCs, to block child protection committees, to DLCPCs, MPOs, and all the PRI members, all the people who are involved to stop child marriage, that we are working. So see, in a span of 6 months, I will give you a figure of 1,211 marriages we have stopped in 4 villages. A single organization has been done this, and there are many other organizations are also working in the field, and they must have stopped more than 5,000-6,000 marriages within this period. So this is the way we have planned that, and when we are working, we also see that
डॉक्टर सेनापति, तो आप मंशा हो, आपने वो कर दिखाया। अगर मंशा है कि अपने लक्ष्य को पाना है, आप वो काम जमीन पर कर रहे हैं, और एक बड़ी बात है घर की।
Yeah, absolutely, and the importance of the civil society groups also working with government, with the community, with society. Dr. Reddy, coming to you again as a career bureaucrat. Now you've served in every administrative position, from being a sub-collector to chief secretary. How do you think we can percolate down to the root of child marriage, and if you could also share with us the kind of changes that you've seen on the ground since you began in 1990?
Thank you. I mean, this one, I think the action lies at the village level. I think we need to really work with the village level organizations, and let it be a panchayat or the school committees, and more importantly, the women's self-help groups. So if you work with these three, in fact, in Andhra Pradesh, we got a very robust village secretariat system. So we've got functionaries, almost 10 functionaries working. So one point would be that we need to have the data of all these girls who are in the adolescent age group. So especially those who are out of school girls. So unless I think we capture the data and see what's happening to them, so there should be a society monitoring and the village level administration monitoring this aspect. Then I think we'll be able to crack. Another point is that whoever are out of school, I think they should be brought back in the form of bridge courses, or taking them supplementary exams, getting back to the schooling system. Another important point is that we are talking about 18 years. So I personally feel that the plus two courses, that is intermediate courses, should be available to all the girls, very much in the vicinity of their village. It may not be possible to start a junior college in each panchayat, but very much available in the vicinity, maybe 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer radius with good road connectivity. The roads can be laid under.
आप कह रहे हैं डॉक्टर रेड्डी कि सरकारी तंत्र के साथ साथ जब कम्युनिटीज और साथ में जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं वो काम करें तो सब कुछ मुमकिन है, और बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत का जो ये अभियान है वो भी मुमकिन है, और आपने वो करके दिखाया है अपने कार्यकाल में। एनडीटीवी इंडिया पर हम ले रहे हैं एक छोटा सा ब्रेक, लेकिन हमारा टेलीथॉन हमारे नेटवर्क पर जारी है। एनडीटीवी इंडिया के दर्शकों से गुजारिश है कि वो लौटे इस टेलीथॉन में इस ब्रेक के बाद, लेकिन एनडीटीवी 24/7 और एनडीटीवी प्रॉफिट पर ये टेलीथॉन जारी है गार्गी।
Absolutely, and now we'd like to go back to Dr. Senapati and ask you about the campaign that's been announced by the ministry, and how do you think that this campaign will help you address specific challenges that you face in your fight against child marriage?
See, the campaign was actually meant to reach to the people in ground level, to the students in the schools and the colleges, to the common people in the villages, to the women. So that was the main, that it's a child marriage. There is a criminal law, and the child marriage has to be stopped. That message has to go, and the people need to pledge for Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat. So that is the objective of Government of India. And we even before that, we had started the same thing in 2023. So that all the people from ground level, they placed, almost 10 lakhs people placed for Bal Vivah Mukt Bharat in 2023. That we could able to, in 3 districts, we are working in 3 districts.
सेनापति जी, इस वक्त एक और अहम मुद्दा भी है, मनीष जी से मैं पूछना चाहूंगी। मनीष जी, आपको क्या लगता है वो कौन से कदम इस वक्त बेहद जरूरी हैं जो फिल्टर होके ग्रास रूट पर पहुंचे और हमारा देश बाल विवाह मुक्त हो जाए? 2 जरूरी कदम आप आगे ना पाए।
देखिए, एक तो कानून का डर पैदा जरूर होना चाहिए। लोगों को ये लगता है कि हम तो बाल विवाह करेंगे और कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला। दूसरा, भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट का, हाई कोर्ट राजस्थान का एक मैं उदाहरण देना चाहता हूँ। हम और आप सब जानते हैं कि राजस्थान में खासकर अक्षय तृतीया पर बहुत बड़ी संख्या में बाल विवाह होते हैं। इस बार अक्षय तृतीया के पहले जब हाई कोर्ट ने ये आदेश दिया कि यहाँ पर बाल विवाह अगर होता है तो पंचायतों की जवाबदेही तय की जाएगी, डेटा ये कहते हैं कि इस साल कहीं भी ऐसे बाल विवाह के मामले नहीं आए, इक्का दुक्का आए तो मैं कह नहीं सकता हूँ, पर जिस तरीके से पहले आते थे तो कानून का एक डर पैदा हुआ, जवाबदेही तय करने की बात मैं कर रहा था। दूसरा, ऐसे परिवार जहाँ संभावना है कि ये बाल विवाह में जा सकते हैं। देखिए, सरकार की योजनाएं बहुत अच्छी हैं, हमारे देश के कानून बहुत अच्छे हैं, उन सरकारी स्कीम से उस परिवार को जोड़ कर रखना बेहद जरूरी है। इसमें पंचायत का रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, इसमें स्कूल का रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। अगर कोई बच्चा बच्ची अगर पिछले कई दिनों से स्कूल नहीं आ रहा है तो कम से कम टीचर को पता हो, स्कूल मैनेजमेंट कमेटी को पता हो, या पंचायत को तो पता हो कि भाई कहीं इसकी चाइल्ड मैरिज तो नहीं होगी। और अगर बच्चे को, मैं तीसरी बात एक और कहना चाहूँगा कि 12वीं तक के बच्चों को, सरकार से मैं निवेदन करूँगा क्योंकि संवेदनशील सरकार है, 12वीं तक के बच्चों को फ्री एंड कंपलसरी एजुकेशन कर दी जाए तो निश्चित तौर पर ना सिर्फ बाल विवाह, क्योंकि बच्चा या तो बाल विवाह में जाएगा या बाल मजदूरी में जाएगा या उसकी ट्रैफिकिंग होगी, तो स्कूल में रहना उसका बेहद ज़रूरी है। और सबका साथ तो चूंकि उसमें कह ही रहे हैं, वो भारत सरकार की भी कोशिश है और उन्होंने इस पर जो है कदम आगे बढ़ाना शुरू कर दिए हैं कि कम्युनिटी के सभी लोगों को साथ में लेकर के चलना है। और पंचायतों का रोल उन्होंने बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक कर दिया उसमें। तो मुझे लगता है अगर एक कदम हम सब लोग मिलकर के उठाएंगे, पंचायत, स्कूल्स, सिविल सोसाइटी, धार्मिक समूह जितने भी हैं, तो निश्चित तौर पे हम बहुत जल्द भारत से बाल विवाह का खात्मा देखेंगे।
That's an important point you made, that for children to continue till class 12, and if the government could make that mandatory. Yes. We don't know when that will happen, but I'm glad you spoke about it on our program here. I'd like to thank all our guests, Manish ji, Dr. Serapati, Dr. Reddy, for joining us on this very, very important show, on this very important issue. And another reminder to all our viewers that you can go to ndtv.com/child marriage free India and become a part of this national campaign against child marriage. You only have to pledge to report, stop and advocate against and end child marriage. Yours will be amongst the many voices that are joining this campaign. As we go into a break, here is one such voice.
Any company, any corporate, any private equity fund, I think it is our imperative duty to make the society in which we live in better. We can't just be focused on profits, and Everstone, through Everstone Foundation and the Vivah Foundation that I run, are very focused on women empowerment, because we believe that the country's growth is intrinsically linked to the women in the country doing better. And I think the impact that we can have as corporates coming together and taking up causes such as child marriage will have the mass effect that this issue requires. I think coming together and having a bigger impact together quicker is what's going to help get rid of this social evil that we have in the country.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Samina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
We set you up for the day's trade. 30 calls before the markets open on NDTV Profit.
Jubilant food above a 600 level on Friday.
Wipro can be first trade to buy all commodities, but in that Vedanta looks good.
Our experts give you the top stock ideas to prepare you for the day.
ICICI Lombard stocks hit the first target.
It has given a very good momentum with good volume.
Don't miss the chance to make the right moves. Only on NDTV Profit, where winners are made before the bell rings.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter. The Log Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Lord Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Lord Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर, साथ ही हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में मौजूद एक खास मेहमान, एक्टर एंड प्रोड्यूसर गुल पनाग, जो इस मुहिम से अब जुड़ रही हैं। गुल, पहला सवाल तो आपसे ही कि आप कई सामाजिक मुद्दों से जुड़ती रही हैं, खुलकर आपने जेंडर इक्वालिटी पर, एनवायरनमेंट पर बात की है, चाइल्ड मैरिज से इस मुहिम से आप जुड़ रही हैं, क्यों ज़रूरी लगा कि आपको इस मुद्दे पर बात करनी चाहिए?
सबसे पहले तो मैं मुबारकबाद देना चाहूँगी एनडीटीवी को कि उन्होंने इस अभियान को इस स्तर पे लाने का एक इतना बड़ा कदम उठाया है। मैं अभी बात कर रही थी सर से, और एक जागरूक नागरिक होने के बावजूद मैं इस बात से वाकिफ़ नहीं थी कि 23% के लगभग 23% महिलाओं ने बाल विवाह अपने बारे में रिपोर्ट किया, यानी 23% महिलाएं हैं जिनकी चाइल्ड मैरिज हुई है आज की तारीख में। मतलब आज हम चांद पे पहुंच चुके हैं। आज हमारे देश में हमारी युवा पीढ़ी क्या क्या नहीं कर रही, लेकिन ये भी आज हमारी एक सच्चाई है, और इस सच्चाई से सबसे पहले तो हमें सामना करना पड़ेगा, और जब हम इस सच्चाई से सामना कर पाएंगे तभी हम इसके बारे में कुछ कर पाएंगे। मैं एनडीटीवी का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहती हूँ कि आपने मुझे इस मुहिम से जोड़ने का ये आमंत्रण दिया, और मैं बहुत ही खुशनसीब हूँ कि मुझे अपना पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म यूज़ करने का मौका मिल रहा है इस मुहिम के ज़रिए, इस अभियान के ज़रिए अपनी आवाज़ उठाने का।
No, thank you for coming here and being a part of this campaign as well in this program, because we need more and more people from civil society, celebrities, actors, all to come together and really become a voice for this campaign. So Gul, tell us a bit about your NGO, the Colonel Shamsher Singh Foundation, and also how do you think civil society NGOs can help in this campaign to rid India of this evil of child marriage?
Gargi, I think the first step to any change in society is discussion, debate, and dialogue. If we don't discuss something, if we don't debate it, if we don't address it, we can't move beyond it. One of the things we facilitate at the Colonel Shamsher Singh Foundation is conversations, especially in the gender equality ecosystem. I come from a district in Punjab that had the dubious distinction of having the lowest sex ratio in the previous census. And that was a trigger for me to set up this foundation. My grandfather was a social worker after he retired from the army and spent 20 years as a sarpanch of his village, because that is the level at which you can really make an impact. And when I found out that my district, where I hail from as a 21st century woman who is literally doing everything she's ever wanted to do, by accident of birth, I'm enjoying the privilege of pursuing all my dreams. Had I been born somewhere else, शायद मेरी ज़िंदगी बहुत ही अलग मोड़ ले सकती थी. तो ये ट्रिगर था, और हम एक छोटे स्तर पे कैसे तब्दीली ला सकते हैं. जब आप जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं तो पहले आपको उसे एड्रेस करना है कि जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी एग्जिस्ट करती है. अगर हम इसे एड्रेस ही नहीं करेंगे, ये तो है ही नहीं, सब कुछ सब बढ़िया है, फिर हम उस मकाम से आगे नहीं पहुंच सकते. So what we try and do is we facilitate conversations, we bring empowered women face to face with communities to show them that women can also be pillars of the family. But to come to what you just spoke about, I think as a conscious citizen, as a contributory citizen, it's very, very important for us to use our platforms and use our spheres of influence to be able to reach as many people as we can. हर इंसान, मैं मानती हूँ, समाज में एक इन्फ्लुएंसर है. शायद उनका इन्फ्लुएंसर उनकी नुक्कड़ तक है, शायद उनका इन्फ्लुएंस उनकी सोसाइटी में है, पर सब का एक ना एक इन्फ्लुएंस सर्कल होता है, और उस इन्फ्लुएंस सर्कल में हमें हमेशा आवाज़ उठानी चाहिए. और अगर हम ऐसी प्रथाओं के बारे में बातचीत नहीं करेंगे, हमारे डे टू डे कॉन्टैक्ट में ऐसे बहुत से लोग आते हैं. मैं आपको एक छोटा सा उदाहरण देना चाहूँगी. मेरी मुलाकात हुई एक लेडी से जो हमारी सोसाइटी में हाउसकीपिंग का काम करती हैं, और वो मुझे बता रही थी कि मैं अपनी बेटी से बहुत तंग आ गई, मैं उसकी शादी करना चाहती हूँ. मैंने पूछा उनकी उम्र क्या है. 15 साल. मैंने कहा आपको पता है कि एक प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ चाइल्ड मैरिजेस एक्ट है, मतलब वकालत मैंने भी की, तो मुझे एटलीस्ट क्या मालूम था उसका. तो शी से उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. हम हमारी बेटी को निकाल के, मतलब हम उसकी प्रति जो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, जो सामाजिक जिम्मेदारी हमारे ऊपर एक बेटी पैदा करने के नाते ठोस दी गई है, हम उसे खत्म करना चाहते हैं. अब जब तक हम ये मसला एड्रेस नहीं करेंगे, महिलाएं ही तो विक्टिम है चाइल्ड मैरिजेस का, लड़के विक्टिम नहीं होते, unless I am mistaken.
Also, but women more so, girls more so.
The idea really is that women are, unfortunately, girls are seen as a burden on the family. And I think the Honorable Prime Minister's बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ आंदोलन जो है, बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ, ऐसे आंदोलन, ऐसे अभियान जो हम कर रहे हैं, उन्हें हमें ग्रास रूट्स तक लेकर जाना है.
कुल हमारे टेलीथॉन का मकसद भी यही है कि जागरूकता, अवेयरनेस हो और लोगों तक ये बात पहुंचे कि वो जो कर रहे हैं, जिस प्रथा को वो फॉलो कर रहे हैं, वो एक कुप्रथा है, उसका प्रचलन नहीं होना चाहिए. और इसीलिए एक प्लेज कैंपेन भी लगातार हमारे टेलीथॉन के साथ चल रहा है. बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत कैंपेन एक राष्ट्रीय अभियान है. हम चाहते हैं कि आप भी प्लेज करें ताकि बाल विवाह जैसी कुप्रथा पर रोक लगे. ndtv.com/childmarriage फ्री इंडिया पर लॉगिन कर आप ये प्लेज ले सकते हैं. मुहिम के समर्थन की बात करें तो हमारी बच्चियां, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता, समाज से जुड़े लोग, स्कूल टीचर, पंचायत के सदस्य, गांव शहर के आम लोग सब जुड़ रहे हैं बड़ी संख्या में प्लेज लेने के लिए. बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत के लिए सब साथ हैं, सरकार की मुहिम के साथ हैं, जिसकी नींव रखी है just
and I like what Gul said about each person being an influencer in their own sphere, and I think that's something that everyone should keep in mind as well.
आज क्या हो रहा है गुल, आप पूछ रही थी ना. हम चलते हैं सीधे राजगढ़, जहां हमारे सहयोगी अजय शर्मा मौजूद हैं अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी के कार्यक्रम में. अजय, पहले तो बताएं कि इस वक्त वहां हो क्या रहा है.
देखिए, तमाम जितने भी यहाँ पे जागरूकता रैली निकाल रहे हैं, जो भी स्वयंसेवी संस्था से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं, मशाल जुलूस निकाला है बड़े पैमाने पर। यहाँ पर पूरे जैतपुरा जो राजगढ़ के पास का गांव है, जो सबसे ज़्यादा बाल विवाह के लिए पहचाना जाता है, इन सब के दरवाज़ों पर ये तमाम स्वयंसेवी संगठन से जुड़े हुए कार्यकर्ता जो हैं वो डोर टू डोर ना सिर्फ दस्तक देते हैं, बल्कि आप देख सकते हैं, प्ले कार्ड्स देख सकते हैं। क्या मकसद है, आप क्या यहाँ पे?
सर, हम बाल विवाह को ख़त्म करना चाहते हैं। राजगढ़ ज़िले में छोटे छोटे 2-2 साल के बच्चों की यहाँ पर सगाई की जाती है और सगाई के बाद 20-20 लाख रुपए का झगड़ा यहाँ पर मांगा जाता है, और ये काफ़ी समाज में यहाँ पर कुप्रथा सी फैली हुई है। और हम बिल्कुल यही चाहेंगे, अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी संस्था से हम हैं, और हम यही चाहेंगे कि राजगढ़ जिला से बाल विवाह जैसी खराब कुप्रथा बंद हो। बस यही निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ राजगढ़ जिला के सभी मेरे ग्रामवासियों से कि बाल विवाह खत्म होना चाहिए। अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी आप सभी के साथ है।
जो कुछ और सोसाइटी, अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी के लोग ग्रामीण है, क्या लगता है आपको, गांव में बाल विवाह बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है?
हाँ सर, बाल विवाह छोटे छोटे 2 साल के बच्चे, 1 साल का बच्चा इधर का इधर थोड़ा सा शराब पी लेते हैं, ऐसे रकम मंगवा लेते हैं आधा किलो, वो 20,000 रुपये ले लेते हैं, 10,000 रुपये ले लेते हैं, ऐसे लालच में आकर ब्याई को दारू पिला देते हैं, ऐसे करते हैं सर। हमारे राजगढ़ जिला में तंवर वार्ड में, पूरे तंवर में ज़्यादा ये काम हो रहा है सर। तो ये निवेदन है कि सर इसको बंद किया जाए बाल विवाह को। कुल बात ये है।
आप क्या सोचते हो आज के इस कार्यक्रम?
आज के कार्यक्रम बहुत अच्छे हैं सर, हमारे बहुत परिवर्तन हो गया इसमें आने में। इस जैतपुरा का आपका आभारी है, पूरा गांव का।
जो नन्हे मुन्ने बच्चे भी इस रैली में आए हुए हैं और कैंपेन है बाल विवाह के अगेंस्ट, और अहिंसा सोसाइटी से कुछ और मेंबर हैं। क्या है आपका, क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
आप सभी को नमस्ते, मैं निकिता मेवाड़े, अहिंसा वेलफेयर सोसाइटी थे। हम तत्पर 50 गाँव हमने गोद लिए जिनको बाल विवाह मुक्त बना रहे हैं। हमारा जैसा आज हमने जैतपुरा भी लिया है, उसमें भी सभी महिलाएं, बच्चे, बुजुर्ग यही बोल रहे हैं कि बाल विवाह को खत्म करो और बाल विवाह मुक्त जैतपुरा होना चाहिए हम लोग का।
ग्रामीण बच्चियां भी, उनसे बात करूंगा, क्या कहना चाहोगे आप?
मैं कहना चाहती हूँ सर कि अपने बाल बच्चा को शादी बंद करो, सगाई बंद करो। कोई नहीं है, और हमारे रोड चाहिए, तुम्हारी नवेदानी सर मेरी, और हमारा रोड चाहिए, और डिलीवरी होती वक्ता और हमारे रोड नहीं है तो कैसे ले जाओ हम हमारे रोड?
क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप अपने इस
बाल विवाह
जो प्रथा चली आ रही है लंबे अरसे से? तो ये तमाम आप तस्वीरों में देख सकते हैं, रैली निकली यहाँ पर और रैली निकाल रहे हैं जागरूकता अभियान के तहत। तमाम बच्चियाँ इसमें शामिल हैं, कुछ और बच्चियाँ हैं। क्या कहना चाहोगी आप इस पूरे जो आज रैली निकाली, आपने स्पीच दिया, यहाँ बताइए।
यहाँ पे आने के लिए आपको थैंक यू। हमारे गांव में एक तो रोड की मतलब सुविधा होना चाहिए, और
एक बाल विवाह जबरदस्त समस्या है आपके यहाँ की, इसको लेकर क्या?
इसको रोकना है। हाँ, मतलब हमारे समाज में ज़्यादा ही हो रहा है बाल विवाह, इसको रोकना है सर। इसको बंद करवाओ, जो बाल विवाह हो रहा है ना, इसे बंद करवा दीजिए सर। हम लड़कियों के 25 साल तक शादी ना होना चाहिए।
ये वो बच्चियां हैं जो खुद अपनी राय बता रही हैं, और इसके पहले पूरे गांव में ये मशाल जुलूस निकला है, और तमाम बच्चियां, तमाम स्वयंसेवी संस्था के लोग, उनके वॉलंटियर्स यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं। कुछ और भी वॉलंटियर्स हैं जिनसे मैं बात करूंगा। क्या कहना चाहिए?
सर, ये
Alright, I think it's just wonderful to get all those voices from Rajgarh talking about child marriage.
समुदाय से अंडरटेकिंग ले रही है, वचन पत्र भरवा रही है। हम चाहते हैं लगातार हमारे प्रयासों से कुछ अच्छा हो, गांव में विकास हो।
तो बच्चियां खुद प्लेज लेना चाहती हैं कि बदलाव हो जमीन पर।
Absolutely, and that lady in a ghungat, and she's talking about that you won't get our vote if you don't stop child marriage, and just amazing to see everyone come together. We also have with us Soledad Herrero, Chief Chief of Child Protection, UNICEF India. She's joining us from Kerala. Thank you so much, Ms. Herrero, for joining us. Now, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals call for global action to end child marriage by 2030. What are some of the strategies that UNICEF India has been able to carry out in the past few years to end child marriage in the next 6 years? Could you share some of those strategies which have proved to be especially successful?
The first one is the importance of bringing attention at the policy development, at the policy implementation, to the adolescent age. Adolescent, which is the second decade of any child, any person, brings an unparalleled opportunity and is also where the gender stereotypes are solidified. So how much attention we put on this second decade of age will yield a lot of opportunities, especially in a context like India, such a huge opportunity in the demographic dividend. The second lesson learned from India and other countries in which UNICEF is working proactively to end child marriage is that the biggest drivers of these harmful practices are education and are poverty. So we really need to support the girls to transition to secondary, to tertiary education, but also to access socioeconomic empowerment opportunities, as well as strengthen social protection schemes and other interventions that really focus on targeting the households of girls that might be experiencing poverty and marginalization. The last but not least priority and lesson learned is that it is really the prevention and rather than the punitive approaches that allow us to bring the communities on board.
राइट राइट तो प्रिवेंशन की जो शुरुआत होती है वो अवेयरनेस से, जागरूकता से होती है और यही कोशिश है हमारे इस टेलीथॉन की कि जब हम ये टेलीथॉन करें तो देश भर के अलग इलाकों में लोग जुड़ें, प्लेज लें। हमने कुछ देर पहले राजगढ़ की तस्वीरें देखी, अब देश के बाकी इलाकों की भी तस्वीरों पर नज़र डालेंगे जैसे जैसे हम ये बातचीत आगे बढ़ाएंगे, कैसे वहाँ पर लोग इकट्ठा होकर प्लेज ले रहे हैं। ऋषिकांत जी, हाल के सुप्रीम कोर्ट के गाइडलाइंस और पार्लियामेंट को जारी हुए हैं और उसका फोकस भी 3 P's पर है, प्रिवेंशन, प्रोटेक्शन और प्रोसिक्यूशन। प्रोसिक्यूशन आसाम जैसे राज्य में काम कर गया है, इनफैक्ट काम कर रहा है और असम का जो मॉडल है वो एक अच्छा मॉडल अब माना जा रहा है ताकि उसकी जो स्ट्रैटेजीज हैं, जो रणनीति है वो दूसरी जगह भी इम्प्लीमेंट हो पाए।
एग्जैक्टली आसाम का जो आसाम ने किया वो एक पूरे देश को एक तरह से उजागर हुआ कि चाइल्ड मैरिज को किस तरह से प्रिवेंट किया जा सकता है। सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात जो आसाम स्टेट ने हम लोगों के सामने लाया इज द फियर ऑफ द लॉ। और जब फियर ऑफ द लॉ हुआ तो हम लोगों ने इंटायर आसाम में देखा कि किस तरह से केसेस पे केसेस आने लगे, पुलिस एक्शंस होने लगे, पंचायत के लोग सूचना देने लगे कौन कहाँ चाइल्ड मैरिज कर रहा है। तो फियर ऑफ द लॉ जब आया तो हम लोगों ने आसाम में देखा है कि किस तरह से ग्राउंड रियलिटीज में चेंजेस आई। यंग एडोलेसेंट गर्ल्स कमिंग फॉरवर्ड and giving informations to the police officials that वहाँ उस गांव में चाइल्ड मैरिज हो रहा है या मेरी दोस्त के साथ चाइल्ड मैरिज हो रहा है। तो मुझे ये लगता है कि आसाम has shown us the way how to fight child marriage.
Interesting you say that, Rishikant ji. Also, another strategy to use in this day and age is technology. So how can we tap into technology to monitor and to report any child marriage cases?
आपने टेक्नोलॉजी की बात किया, यू स्पोक अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी एंड आवर मेंटर, गाइड एंड यंग लीडर भुवन रिबू ब्रॉट इन दिस बुक व्हेन चिल्ड्रन हैव चिल्ड्रन, और उन्होंने टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कहा। जस्ट राइट फॉर चिल्ड्रन अलायंस ने पिकेट पॉलिसी को सामने लेके आया। जो पिकेट पॉलिसी है किस तरह से हम लोग फाइट कर सकते हैं। Policies, investment in infrastructure, convergence of department, knowledge with stakeholders, ecosystem and technology. Technology आएगा हमारे जब हमारे MHA, हमारी MWCD ने पोर्टल बनाया है और पोर्टल में कोई भी व्यक्ति जाके सूचना दे सकता है। Anybody who is getting to know that somewhere across the country, if a child marriage is happening, they can report directly to the portal. Portal में जाके अपनी सूचना दे सकता है और वो सूचना एक तरह से anonymous रहेगा। मुझे लगता है कि ये एक दूरगामी असर होगा और लोग जब जाके पोर्टल में अपनी सूचना देंगे, एक्शंस होंगे, पुलिस FIR करेगा और वहां पर हम लोग देखेंगे कि बाल विवाह रुकेगा।
बिल्कुल। I would like to go across to Ms. Herrero. How can collaborations between government and civil society help bring an end to child marriage? What do you think about this?
So we were talking about the campaign, and I think very rightly, the campaign foundation is that a whole society and a whole government approach is required. It is only by bringing the wide range of the stakeholders, you mentioned civil society organizations, government, but of course there are many other players, religious leaders, academia, the judiciary, including the Supreme Court, has played a very crucial role on this domain, and all huge spectrum of grassroots organizations needs to be on board. Why the partnership of government and civil society is so important? Well, I believe that the government can bring, of course, policies, law implementation, can bring structure, can bring resources and systems, but then the civil society organizations can really make sure that there is a last mile outreach, there is a hands-on expertise based on the reality of the communities, and after all, that there is a touch to the heart and the minds of the communities to trigger a mind shift change in this regard.
Yeah. Right. Now, Gul, you had a question, didn't you, for Mr. Ravikant regarding how to combat child marriage and bring about change?
Ravikant ji, in India, we simultaneously exist in multiple millennia at one time. We are a very, very diverse nation. What may work in one part of the country may not work in another part of the country. How does one surmount these challenges? You know, there's protection, prevention, prosecution. But even that, the Assam example, how does one make it uniform across all the country? How do you deal with different areas differently? I mean, is there a strategy in place?
देखिए, यूनिफॉर्मिटी की बात जब आती है, I understand that India is a big country, diverse cultures, diverse religions. And when one size की बात आती है, that is the rule of law. Once Parliament has made the law, Child Marriage Prohibition Act, then it's binding upon everyone. And there is no question that customary law or personal laws will prevail. That is period, that is end. Because once Parliament has decided that young girls will not be married, that is to be enforced everywhere. What we are asking from the Just Rights for Children is that enforce the law properly across the country. Once the fear of the law comes in, then there will be a ripple effect across society, and then there will be a shortage of child marriages. I'm also talking about, आप देखिए कि जो SDG 5.3 अभी यूनिसेफ के हेड बात कर रही थी, SDG 5.3 को एंड करने की जो 2030 तक का जो चैलेंज है, उस पर कोई बात नहीं करता है. यूनिसेफ की खुद भी आंकड़े आ रहे थे कि इतने साल लगेंगे. बट आज जो जस्ट राइट्स फॉर चिल्ड्रन और बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत जो कि एक मिनिस्ट्री ने अभी जो लॉन्च किया है, इससे आज पूरे कंट्री में ये बात आ रही है कि हम बाल विवाह को खत्म कर सकते हैं. और यहीं पर पार्टनरशिप्स, कन्वर्जेंस, कोलैबोरेशंस, डिस्ट्रिक्ट में इकोसिस्टम, सरकार की लोगों की भागीदारी और जो हमारी कानून को रखवाले हैं उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी. अभी हमारे जस्ट राइट्स फॉर चिल्ड्रन अलायंस के एक पार्टनर ने जो जनहित याचिका दायर किया था सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, उसमें जो लैंडमार्क जजमेंट आई है उसमें यह कहा गया है कि जो सरकार के लोग और जो पुलिस प्रशासन के लोग अकाउंटेबल रहेंगे और अगर वो नहीं करेंगे तो उन पे कार्रवाई होगी. सो व्हाट वी आर आस्किंग इज enforce the law. It's too long young girls have suffered. It's too long and it's now time to enforce the law.
इन्फोर्स करें, लॉ इम्प्लीमेंट हो, ये इस वक्त ज़रूरी है. आप देख रहे हैं हमारा टेलीथॉन जो बाल विवाह मुक्त भारत के लिए है एनडीटीवी के नेटवर्क पर. एनडीटीवी इंडिया ले रहा है एक छोटा सा ब्रेक, लेकिन ये टेलीथॉन जारी है एनडीटीवी 24/7 और एनडीटीवी प्रॉफिट पर. एनडीटीवी इंडिया के दर्शकों से गुजारिश है इस ब्रेक के बाद आप तुरंत लौटें. ये टेलीथॉन यहाँ इस वक्त जारी है. गार्गी.
Now, local NGOs often play a pivotal role in preventing child marriages by acting promptly on tip-offs, which can come in any form. This was evident in a case that was reported from Multi-pronged town in Kalburgi, Karnataka. A child marriage involving a class 10 girl was brought to light during a surprise visit by an education department officer to a residential school in Multi-pronged town itself. The officer alerted the district child protection officer, who then activated a rescue network that included members members of Margdarshi Society, one of the NGO partners of Just Rights for Children. A rescue team then reached the location and successfully stopped the child marriage. Now, while a case was registered against all parties involved in the child marriage, the girl was presented before the Child Welfare Committee and was placed in a government girls' home in Kalburgi until she turns 18.
In this case, child marriage case, this is when we stopped, we went to the that venue of the Kalyan Mandap. The bride were escaped. Both the boys and girls were escaped from that Kalyan Mandap because of they have received a phone call from the institute, so where the child was studying. Some of them called that girl and informed that the police are coming to your place. Then we silently stood and among the people and found the boy's mother and girl's father automatically. Then we informed to the DCPO madam and police department. We called them and we took the police station parents, and then only they called to the boy, and the boy also came along with the girl to the police station.
रविकांत जी, आप चर्चा कर रहे थे किस तरह से एक इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो है, कानून का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एक अहम पड़ाव है, अहम पहलू है इस पूरी मुहिम के लिए, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो डायरेक्टिव भी आया है वो एक पिटिशन की कोशिश के बाद आया है। ऐसे में आपको लगता है कि कानून की समझ और कानूनी कार्रवाई समय पर होना एक बड़ा डेटरेंट हो सकता है इस सोशल ईविल के लिए? एकदम। और यही चीज़ जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो जजमेंट आई है वो एक पूरी तरह से एक एक्शन प्लान है, और ये एक्शन प्लान में जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट बात है कि अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ चाइल्ड मैरिज प्रोहिबिशन ऑफिसर्स, जो ये निषेध अधिकारी हैं, इनकी अपॉइंटमेंट अक्सर देखा जाता है कि जिले में पता ही नहीं है लोगों को, और साथ में जिले में अगर मान लीजिए कहीं बाल विवाह हो रहा है, इस पे इंजंक्शन ऑर्डर इशू करने के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि जो वहाँ के कोर्ट है वहाँ सुमोटो एक्शन ले सकती है अपने आप पे। जहाँ तक बात होती है सरकारी अधिकारियों का, उनकी जो एक तरह से उदासीनता होती है इस एक्ट को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए, वहाँ पर बात की गई है। जिले लेवल कमिटीज की बात की गई है। एक पूरी कन्वर्जेंस लाना होगा। ये एक बहुत बड़ा अपराध है। कस्टम और सोसाइटी के द्वारा यंग गर्ल्स का सेक्सुअल एक्सप्लॉयटेशन है। इससे बड़ा अपराध क्या हो सकता है? और इसमें जिले लेवल पे, हम राज्य की बात करेंगे, पर जिले लेवल पे एक पूरी कन्वर्जेंस में लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटीज, चाइल्ड मैरिज प्रोहिबिशन ऑफिसर्स, बाल कल्याण समितियां हैं, ये सबको बहुत प्रोएक्टिवली आगे बढ़ करके एक कन्वर्जेंस मॉडल पे काम करने की जरूरत है। राज्य लेवल पे भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि ये कमिटीज बननी चाहिए। ये हमारी जस्ट राइट्स फॉर चिल्ड्रन जगह जगह इस पर ये बात करके ये सब चीजों पे काम करेगी। बहुत कामयाबी भी हासिल हुई है जमीन पर आपके एक्शन प्लान से। कुल टेलीथॉन के इस प्लेटफॉर्म से हम गुजारिश करें अपने दर्शकों को कि वो प्लेज ले और जागरूकता इससे फैले। इस प्लेटफॉर्म से आप हमारे दर्शकों को क्या संदेश इस कुप्रथा के लिए देना चाहेंगी?
मैं वही बात दोहराना चाहती हूँ। आई वुड लाइक टू रीटरेट कि हम सब हमारे दायरे में इन्फ्लुएंसर्स हैं। हमें पूरी कोशिश करनी चाहिए हर वक्त जब भी हमें मालूम पड़ता है ऐसी एक प्रथा के बारे में, या हमारे दायरे में अगर मालूम पड़ता है, हम किसी को जानते हैं जिसके घर में ऐसा हो रहा है, हमें उन्हें काउंसिल करना चाहिए। और जब हम ऐसी एक शपथ लेते हैं, ऐसी एक प्लेज लेते हैं, तो हम भागीदारी रखते हैं इस अभियान में और इस मुहिम में। और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है क्योंकि जब समाज का एक एक नागरिक जागरूक होकर हिस्सेदारी के साथ, भागीदारी के साथ किसी भी मुहिम के साथ जुड़ते हैं, तभी वो मुहिम और वो अभियान सफल हो पाता है। तो मेरा इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से सब जो देखने वाले यहाँ पर हैं उनसे ये अनुरोध है कि जहाँ पर भी उन्हें मौका मिले, जिस भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर, जिस भी मोर्चे पर उन्हें ये अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले, ये मौका मिले, ये अवसर मिले, इस बात की उनको चर्चा करनी चाहिए। और अगर मौका लगे तो काउंसिल भी करना चाहिए और डेफिनेटली दूसरों को कन्विंस करना चाहिए शपथ लेने के लिए जब आप शपथ ले लेंगे उसके बाद.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And an important point there, because people often say, what can we do about this? Such a huge issue. But yes, in their own way, in their own sphere, people can try and make a difference. Thank you so much, Gulpanak, for joining us, and Ravi Kanji, Rishikant ji as well, and Ms. Herrero for joining us on this program. It's time now for us to slip into a quick break as we continue gathering pledges and voices of support from across the country. We will return to some very significant voices who can play a critical role in ending child marriages in India. That's faith leaders. That's after this break.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Samina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
We set you up for the day's trade. 30 calls before the markets open on NDTV Profit.
Jubilant food above a 600 level on Friday.
Wipro can be first to buy all commodities, but in that Vedanta looks good.
Our experts give you the top stock ideas to prepare you for the day.
ICICI Lombard stocks hit the first target.
It has given a very good momentum with good volume.
Don't miss the chance to make the right moves. Only on NDTV Profit, where winners are made before the bell rings.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you new.
Child marriage should be abolished, and we should really prepare our children, both boys and girls, for a better marriage and eventually to form a good family as an institution. And I would suggest to take the best practices in this field and to apply and to expand to other regions where this practice is still in vigor. Also, the cultural traits, cultural practices, traditions should be analyzed, and only through social awareness and conscientization we can reduce this.
इस्लाम बाल विवाह को कतई तौर पर मना करता है। इस्लाम में बाल विवाह की कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है। धर्मगुरु का बाल विवाह को खत्म करने में बहुत बड़ा रोल हो सकता है। पहली बात तो यह है कि जो शिक्षाएं हैं शादी के मुतालिक वो समाज में उसको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा उसको फैलाना चाहिए। लड़के और लड़की का निकाह के लिए बालिग होना और उनकी इजाज़त लेना ये इस्लाम में पहली ज़रूरी है। अगर लड़की से इजाज़त नहीं ली जाती है और उसको ये पता ही नहीं कि निकाह क्या होता है, शादी क्या होती है, शादी के बाद जिम्मेदारियां क्या आयद उसके ऊपर होने वाली हैं, उस वक्त तक जो है निकाह सही तरीके से वो कायम नहीं होता है। तो ये ज़रूरी है कि निकाह को पूरे तौर से नाफिज करने के लिए इस्लाम की इन शिक्षाओं को समाज को बताना चाहिए। दूसरी जो जिम्मेदारी है वो ये है कि आज समाज पूरे तौर से एजुकेटेड नहीं है, पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, जिसकी वजह से बाल विवाह की तरफ लोग बढ़ रहे हैं। तो समाज को एजुकेट करने की ज़रूरत है। और तीसरी जो चीज़ है वो ये है कि जो लोग निकाह पढ़ाते हैं, जो लोग निकाह का अमल अंजाम देते हैं, उनको भी चाहिए कि वो जागरूक हों और अपने समाज को इसके लिए बेदारी पैदा करें कि वो इस तरह के बच्चे और बच्चियों को शादी न कराएं जो नाबालिग हैं, छोटे हैं।
मैं आप सबसे एक अपील करना चाहता हूँ कि जो छोटी बच्चियों का विवाह बचपन में कर देते हैं, जिसको बाल विवाह कहते हैं, ये पाप है। मेरे धर्म में भी पाप है, दुनिया के हर धर्म में पाप है। मैं आपसे निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ कि प्रतिज्ञा करो कि इस देश में एक बच्चे के साथ जो नासमझ हैं उनके साथ बेइंसाफ़ी नहीं होने देंगे, उनको बनने देंगे, उनको खिलने देंगे। अगर कली को आप निकाल देंगे तो कुछ भी मिलने वाला नहीं है। अगर वो फूल बन जाएगी तो वो दुनिया को रोशन कर देगी। तो जो रोशन करने वाली शक्ति है वो हमारे बच्चे हैं, उनको ये समझाने की ज़रूरत है। आप भी प्रतिज्ञा लो, मैंने भी प्रतिज्ञा ली है, पूरे समाज को प्रतिज्ञा दिलवा रहा हूँ कि बच्चे की बचपन में शादी नहीं करेंगे। जब वो अपने समय पे, उसका समय है, एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के हिसाब से हम उसकी शादी करेंगे, उसको पढ़ाएंगे, लिखाएंगे, अच्छा इंसान बनाएंगे। मुझे आशा है कि आप एक धर्मगुरु होने के नाते मेरा संप्रदाय उसको मैं कहूँगा कि इस पर विचार करें और इसका पालन करें।
हमने सुना हमारे धर्म गुरुओं को, फेथ लीडर्स को, जो इस सोशल ईवल, इस कुप्रथा के खिलाफ जागरूकता फैलाने में अहम कड़ी साबित हो सकते हैं। और हम स्टूडियो में मौजूद मेहमानों के साथ आगे बढ़ाएंगे चर्चा, लेकिन
इसके साथ ही मैं माननीय केंद्रीय वित्त मंत्री और कॉर्पोरेट मामलों की मंत्री श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमण, माननीय केंद्रीय वित्त राज्य मंत्री श्री पंकज चौधरी, राजस्व सचिव श्री अजय सेठ, सीबीआईसी अध्यक्ष श्री संजय अग्रवाल और मंच पर उपस्थित सीबीआईसी के आदरणीय सदस्यों और अन्य उच्च अधिकारियों का भी स्वागत करती हूँ। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, जीएसटी परिषद की 55वीं बैठक कुछ देर पहले ही संपन्न हुई। माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी इस बैठक में लिए गए महत्वपूर्ण फैसलों को अभी हमारे साथ साझा करेंगी, जिसके बाद हम मीडिया से प्रश्न लेंगे। ब्रीफिंग शुरू करने से पहले मैं आपसे अनुरोध करती हूं कि आप अपने मोबाइल फ़ोन को साइलेंट मोड पर रख लें। अब मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से अनुरोध करती हूं कि वे आज की बैठक के फैसलों के बारे में मीडिया को जानकारी दें।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'll give broad indications of the decisions taken so that my opening statement doesn't become too long, and post that on specific items I can always elaborate. See, I'll first go by the rate changes on goods, particularly specifically also where the rates have come down or exemptions have been happening. So a reduction in the rate of fortified rice kernels, which are classifiable under 1904, to 5%. As you know, fortified rice kernels are supplied with an intent of they getting passed on to the PDS. So the poor benefit from it, and it was a conscious decision that we bring the price down, the tax down. Next is gene therapy, which is now very critical for life-saving measures taken for very life-threatening diseases, have been totally exempt. LR-SAM system is very important in defense, surface-to-air missile. So in that, we've decided to extend the IGST exemption which are provided to systems, subsystems, equipment, parts, subparts, tools, test equipment, software meant for assembly and manufacture of LR-SAM. All of them have always been exempted, but now the exemption is further extended. It was, I think, in 2019 the exemption was provided. Now it is, the exemption continues, so we've extended it. Then there is a reduction in the rate of compensation cess to 0.1% on supplies to merchant exporters, at par with the GST rate on such supplies. So this was a particularly important request which had come from traders and exporters. In order to help exporters, this relief is being provided, otherwise their working capital was getting blocked because they pay it and then claim back. So this is with a clear intent of helping exporters. Next is to exempt IGST imports of all equipment and consumable samples by inspection teams of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, subject to specific conditions. Then this is another important step which you can link with the fortified rice that I spoke about, also to help the weaker sections, to extend the concessional 5% GST on input of food preparations that are supplied for food preparations intended for free distribution to economically weaker sections under a government program subject to existing conditions. So this is also an extension of the 5% rate which prevails for food items which go into food preparation that is used for free distribution for the weaker sections. So these are the reduction or exemption or extension of rates. There are such for services, I'm not elaborating it for this minute. There are clarifications also being issued on ACC blocks containing more than 50% fly ash. If it has more than 50% fly ash content, it will fall under a particular HS code of 6815 and it will attract 12% GST. This is very important, the next one, which is also a clarification that black pepper, whether fresh green black pepper or dried black pepper and raisins, that is kishmish, when supplied by an agriculturist, is not liable to GST. So when a merchant buys it and sells it, is a different story. But if the agriculturist himself, call him a farmer, call him a plantation worker, if he himself is giving it or a small person is giving it, then it is not liable to GST. Then this will be important to amend the definition of pre-packaged and labeled items to cover all commodities that are intended for retail sale and containing not more than 25 kg or 25 liters, which are pre-packed as defined by the Legal Metrology Act, or a label affixed thereto is required to bear the declarations under the provisions of the Act. This is also very important because it's an amendment, so that that clarification has, for the lack of it, has created a lot of confusion. So we are defining what actually is pre-packaged and packaged. Before I get into the detail of other, there's one other important thing. Payment aggregators who do less than 2,000 rupees payment are eligible for exemption. But let us understand, and I provide this clarification now, that this exemption does not cover payment gateways and other fintech services which do not involve settlement of funds. So payment aggregators alone, I'm talking about, who do less than 2,000 rupees will have that exemption provided. Another important decision, there are several which will be covered in detail in your press note, which all of you all will receive. I clarify that no GST is payable on the penal charges levied and collected by banks and NBFCs from borrowers for non-compliance with loan terms. This will be very important for small businesses, so I repeat it. The Council has desired that we issue a clarification that no GST is payable on the penal charges levied and collected by banks and NBFCs from borrowers for non-compliance with terms, loan terms. Before I get into the specific details of others, broad items of interest for all of you all, I'd like to list them out. There are about 8 of them. The we have our Minister of State, Pankaj Chaudhary ji, who chaired the compensation cess-related group of ministers. They have given a request to the council, which the council has accepted today, that they need more time to get into the details. So that has been given an extension. Nothing specifically mentioned about the term, but extension has been provided. Then there was this request placed on the agenda whether ATF, air traffic fuel, should be brought into the GST, because periodically we've had airlines telling us, civil aviation requesting us, that ATF should be brought into the GST. It's not been agreed on. States did not feel comfortable. They didn't want ATF because they saw it as part of the crude petroleum diesel basket, and therefore they said that alone cannot be taken out, and therefore that continues to remain where it is today. There was also a suggestion just ATF could be put to a GOM so that they can think whether it is worthy of consideration to be brought into the GST, but they did not want anything done about ATF. So that is the second. Third, the GOM on health insurance. In fact, I may suggest that I must inform that the chairman of that GOM, Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, was for almost just before lunch, he left. He was there in the morning session. And since he had to leave a bit early, he decided that the council take that issue up first. And he did say that after good work, it's felt that it requires more time, and therefore health insurance related GOM work also requires more time, so they have gone to take more time. On one or two specific grounds which I would like to put before you as to why it had to have more time, insurance and therefore the insurance regulators' input is awaited. IRDAI, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authorities' inputs have not come, so the GOM felt that it needed a bit more time. The rate rationalization, GOM, also needs more time. Again, there, I would like to inform through you, the media, that speculation about what the rate rationalization is doing is seen everywhere. And there are reports which are also carried on saying it may be like this, it may be like that, even in the media, because that's in the air and therefore you'll also report on it. मगर उसका रिपोर्ट फाइनल नहीं हुआ है, इसीलिए मैं बहुत ही विनम्रता से आप सबको रिक्वेस्ट कर रही हूँ, स्पेकुलेशन में नहीं रिपोर्ट करना चाहिए, स्पेकुलेशन आधारित रिपोर्ट नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि रेट, टैक्स रेट के ऊपर स्पेकुलेशन करना, उसका असर पूरे सोसाइटी के ऊपर लगता है और सभी वर्गों के ऊपर मन में ये चिंता हो जाती है कि क्या होने वाले हैं, क्या बढ़ेगा, कम होगा, घटेगा. ये स्पेकुलेशन में प्लीज मत भाग लेना, क्योंकि कमेटी का काम खत्म नहीं हुआ है. I honestly want media to please check up every time with the concerned people. क्या इसमें फाइनल हो गया है, निर्णय हुआ है कि नहीं, ये चेक करके छपाइए ना. छपाने में लोगों के मन में बहुत सारे चिंता आ जाता है कि होने वाले हैं, नहीं होने वाले, इंक्रीज होने वाले. So my request is the committees have not finalized, the GOMs have not finalized, and they have legitimate reasons which the which the GST Council has appreciated. हाँ, उनको और समय चाहिए. इसीलिए इस बीच में स्पेकुलेशन में मत जाना. Speculation on these very sensitive matters is not really good for any one of us. So rate rationalization has also not finalized its report. They need a bit more time. एक विषय मैं आपके सामने रखना चाहती हूँ. छोटे कंपनियों रजिस्ट्रेशन में बहुत दिक्कत होता है, क्योंकि उनके रजिस्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस में बहुत सारे प्रश्न उठाते हैं कि आपके बिजनेस साइज क्या है, कितने साल से हैं, आप इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट लेने वाले हैं, कॉम्पनसेशन और व्हाट इज इट, योर स्मॉल कंपनी, ये सब प्रश्न आता है। इसीलिए एक कॉन्सेप्ट नोट तैयार किया गया है एंड दैट कॉन्सेप्ट नोट टुडे रिसीव्ड इन प्रिंसिपल अप्रूवल ऑफ द GST Council. This will bring in new registration process, which of course will require an amendment in the law. Act में छोटा सा amendment का जरूरत भी पड़ेगा, मगर वो concept note को विस्तार से पढ़ने के बाद, उसको GST Council approve करने के बाद, हम जो amendment करना है वो करेंगे। मकसद एक ही है कि छोटे कंपनियों का रजिस्ट्रेशन आसानी से होना चाहिए और उनको, जिन कंपनियों को ITC भी छोटा है, उन कंपनीज का इतना दिक्कत नहीं होना चाहिए। सो सिंप्लीफिकेशन को मन में रखते हुए ये कॉन्सेप्ट नोट टेबल किया गया है एंड द काउंसिल हैज इन प्रिंसिपल गिवन इट्स अप्रूवल। द नेक्स्ट वन, अगेन मीडिया में बहुत स्पेकुलेशन इसके ऊपर भी हुआ, मैं इसको आपके सामने रखना चाह रही हूं। ये डिसीजन डेफर हुआ है, मगर डिसीजन मैं बोल रही हूं, विषय बोल रही हूं। क्विक कॉमर्स के द्वारा या डिलीवरी प्लेटफॉर्म के द्वारा, ई कॉमर्स के द्वारा फूड डिलीवरी जब होता है, उसमें फूड का रेट में टैक्स करें, डिलीवरी के लिए अलग टैक्स करें, डिलीवरी के लिए अलग कितना टैक्स करना है, इन सभी विषयों के ऊपर चर्चा हुआ। पिछले एक सप्ताह से मैं देख रही हूँ न्यूज़पेपर्स में कंपनियों का नाम लेकर के, इनके ऊपर 18 होगा, बड़े क्विक कॉमर्स में इतना होगा, क्या खाने के चीज में 5% जब लग रही है, घर में पहुंचने में उसका 18% टैक्स होगा क्या? अगेन मैं आपको हाथ जोड़कर विनती करती हूं GST काउंसिल के बिहाफ में, इसमें कोई निर्णय नहीं हुआ है, ये डिफर हुआ है, जिससे GOM इसके ऊपर विस्तार से और एक बार चेक करेगी। क्या क्विक कॉमर्स के द्वारा घर में खाना मंगवाना और जब खाने के चीज के ऊपर 5% है, डिलीवरी के लिए ज्यादा होना है कि नहीं होना है, क्या है, इसके ऊपर विस्तार से चर्चा हुआ है और इसका निर्णय नहीं हुआ। और जब तक निर्णय GST काउंसिल तक नहीं आता, उसके ऊपर प्लीज स्पेकुलेट नहीं करना। अगला एक विषय बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, आपके सामने रख रही हूं। इस बिल्डिंग बनाने के समय फ्लोर स्पेस इंडेक्स, बिल्डिंग बनाने के समय FSI जो बोलते हैं, उसके ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज में होना है या फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में होना है, इसके ऊपर भी एक विषय एजेंडा में आया। GST लगता है उसके ऊपर, मगर क्या रिवर्स में होना है, फॉरवर्ड में होना है, ये म्युनिसिपैलिटी तक, उनके रेवेन्यू तक प्रभावित होने वाले एक निर्णय है। बिकॉज FSI largely is raised by municipality level authorities and इसके ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज में लगना या फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में लगना लगता है GST, मगर इस कंफ्यूजन में बहुत सारे स्पेकुलेशन हो रहा था, ये एजेंडा में भी आया, इसमें भी कोई निर्णय नहीं हुआ है। क्योंकि निर्णय नहीं हुआ, मगर ज्यादातर लोग और हम भी मानते हैं कि ये म्युनिसिपैलिटी लेवल का रेवेन्यू इम्प्लीकेशन वाली चीज है। इसमें लैंड से बनाया, मतलब बिना लैंड बिल्डिंग तो नहीं बन पाते, सो लैंड इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ स्टेट्स सब्जेक्ट। सो वी फेल्ट इसके ऊपर कोई चर्चा ऐसे होना नहीं चाहिए, दे विल टॉक अबाउट इट इन डिटेल। सो डिसीजन नहीं हुआ, मगर 2 important factors which came for recognition is that it will affect the municipalities' revenue. It will also be on a terrain of or a subject of the state, which is land. So उसके ऊपर निर्णय नहीं हुआ. फिटमेंट कमेटी ने इसमें हाँ बरवाई कि we should look at it, we should take it up and all that. कल ऑफिसर्स मीटिंग जहां हुई, हमारी रेवेन्यू सेक्रेटरी who's holding additional charge, Secretary EA Ajay Seth ji clearly said we should think about it because it has an implication on the states, it has an implication on municipalities, and that came for discussion, and therefore it also went through the process of deferring it. It will go to the committee or we'll think about it. The 8th point which I want to draw your attention is training partners, skill training partners of the National Skill Development Council. उनको जो अप्रूव्ड पार्टनर्स है, नॉट एवरीबडी, जो अप्रूव्ड पार्टनर्स है उनको जीएसटी एग्जेम्प्ट करने के लिए निर्णय हुआ है, मगर नोटिफिकेशन आएगा बाद में. So these are 8 main things on which I want to draw your attention. But there are 3 things on which, even as the GST Council was busy deliberating, from the morning, there's a lot of speculation in the media. And as a result, there's a lot of speculation in the social media. अरे पॉपकॉर्न के ऊपर भी डाल रहे हैं टैक्स. मैं मीडिया से हाथ जोड़कर रिक्वेस्ट करती हूं, ये पूरे प्रेस मीट हम करते हैं हर जीएसटी काउंसिल के बाद, और टैक्स ऐसे विषय है जिसमें बहुत लेयर्स होता है. कोई आंख बंद करके टैक्स लगाते भी नहीं है और आंख बंद करके हटाते भी नहीं है. पूरे विषय समझने के बाद प्लीज आपके मीडिया में चलाइए. पॉपकॉर्न के ऊपर टैक्स, मैं इसका पूरे पृष्ठभूमि आपके सामने रखना चाहती हूं. सॉल्टेड पॉपकॉर्न, कैरामलाइज्ड पॉपकॉर्न, प्लेन पॉपकॉर्न, ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जहां नमकीन के नाम में पॉपकॉर्न सॉल्टेड भी सेल होता है कि नहीं? नमकीन है वो, मगर जब पॉपकॉर्न सॉल्टेड सिर्फ नहीं है, उसमें कैरामलाइज्ड पॉपकॉर्न भी मार्केट में आता है एडेड शुगर के साथ. एडेड शुगर के चीज हर एक में रेट एक है, नमकीन के ऊपर रेट कम है. सो कैरामलाइज्ड पॉपकॉर्न का ट्रीटमेंट के ऊपर सब लोग विस्तार से चर्चा की. व्हेन यू टॉक आउटसाइड इट लुक्स सिली, अरे पॉपकॉर्न के ऊपर इतना चर्चा चाहिए क्या? मगर हर आइटम के ऊपर फिटमेंट कमेटी में स्टेट्स भागीदारी लेकर चर्चा करने के समय वो क्लियरली बोलते हैं एडेड शुगर वाले चीज को तो हम ट्रीटमेंट अलग ही देते हैं, चाहे वो ड्रिंक हो, कार्बोनेटेड ड्रिंक हो, जूस हो, जिसमें एडेड शुगर है. इसीलिए पॉपकॉर्न का ट्रीटमेंट में जब तक वो नमकीन है, सॉल्टेड है, मसाला एडेड है, चटपटा मसाला है, चिली पाउडर है, कुछ हो, वो सब 5%, am I right? 5%. But when it has added caramelized sugar, it is no longer नमकीन, इसीलिए उसका रेट अलग है. So वो थोड़ा आपके प्रेस नोट में हम विस्तार से उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन दे रहे हैं. विषय को समझकर प्लीज जितने भी आपके मीडिया के द्वारा स्प्रेड करना है करिए. दूसरा एक विषय मैं पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स का भी इसी में जोड़ा, मगर आई हैव ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स. दूसरा एक विषय है, उसके बाद मैं क्वेश्चंस के लिए ओपन करती हूं. ईवी व्हीकल्स, उसके ऊपर भी सुबह से चल रही है जब प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस फाइनल नहीं हो. ईवी व्हीकल्स के ऊपर ये एब्सोल्युटली क्लियरली मेंशन करना चाहिए कि नया व्हीकल्स ईवी खरीदने में 5% है. Am I right? 5%. पुराने ईवी व्हीकल्स खरीदने का विषय ही आया है. We want to promote EV. GST Council is in favor of EV. Nobody is stopping people from buying EV. मगर used EV खरीदने के समय एक व्यक्ति दूसरे व्यक्ति को सेल करेगा तो कोई नहीं है उसमें. The same thing as 5%. No GST. Sorry. Used EV. An individual selling to another individual, no GST. But if a company has bought EV, or if there is a regular registered used car seller who buys EV, does some propping up in it, adds value to it, and then sells it, it was felt by states and it was felt by auto and many others also that the EV market is not so saturated as yet that used cars will come. And category mein, therefore used cars category mein EV bhi hai, petrol vehicle bhi hai, diesel vehicle bhi hai. And I like to highlight this point to you. हमारी तरफ से केंद्र सरकार, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया विच इज 1/3 मेंबर ऑफ द GST, हमारी तरफ से एजेंडा में सेल ऑफ ओल्ड एंड यूज्ड EV व्हीकल्स को 12 से 5 तक ले आने के लिए we had suggested. But when the discussions happened, it is on that margin, the value, the margin value between purchased price and resale price. 12 लाख में खरीदा, 9 लाख में बेच रहे हैं सेकेंड हैंड यूज्ड व्हीकल के नाम पर. On the margin is only this 18% is being put, as would be for any used car. So it is on the margin, not on the entire amount at which the car is being sold. So EV vehicle का हमारे recommendation तो 5 को ले आओ उसको भी जैसे EV का नया vehicle का rate है. मगर after विस्तार discussion, the marginal value के ऊपर ही ये 18% डाला जा रहा है जैसे कि हर used vehicle का है. So more can be asked as question. It is not a blind application of 18%. It is more thoughtfully done. Our recommendation was for 5%, but post that, the discussions have resulted in this. Open for questions.
Ma'am, with your permission, we will start the question and answer session.
All right, so that was the Finance Minister speaking at the press briefing after the 55th GST Council meet that concluded earlier today. I'm Vishwanath Nair, joining us on NDTV Profit. We've got 4 key experts who have come in to talk to us about what exactly the announcements are, what they would mean, what the implications of would be, the implications of also things which have been deferred or maybe discussed at a later date. We'll take all of that with my 4 guests. I'll introduce all of them. Got Jaisalmer from EY India, Ajay Roti, founder and CEO of Tax Compass. We've got Karthik Mani, partner indirect tax at BDO India, and we've got Shivam Mehta, executive partner at Lakshmi Kumar and Sridhar Attorneys. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with you, Jaishi ma'am. The first, we've heard a lot from the FM over the last half an hour or so. Now she's taking questions. We'll cut to that a little later. But tell us in brief what your initial thoughts are after all these announcements have come out.
So I think the most widely anticipated changes, which is to do with rate rationalization, scale back of the tax rate on insurance, and the widely anticipated inclusion of ATF hasn't come through. So in that sense, I think the most widely speculated and talked about changes haven't come. But having said that, I think the government has continuing on the right path of calibrating the rates where they need to. The finance minister did speak about certain rate reductions for critical items, including clarifications on agricultural produce, exemption on life-saving T-cell therapy, etc. So those are definitely welcome move. The rest we'll of course have to see the fine print in terms of what more is in store.
Ajay Roti, I wanted to get your views as well, and if you can spare a minute or two about her comments regarding this popcorn story, because that has seemed to have captured the public's attention.
I think, largely on what has happened in the meeting, I would agree with Jayashree that there are 2-3 key aspects, whether it's on compensation, cess rate, rationalization, health insurance that we were awaiting, and those have got deferred. See, on the popcorn thing, I think it's just more noise and, what somebody who's not dealing with it daily would see it from where they are seeing. I think, some of these have been issues which are there. States, particularly AARs have taken different views on these rates. So what they have done today is really clarify, where what falls and what rate it will be. It's not a new tax that's been brought in, etc. But the larger point remains that it does not appear simple, for the common man in terms of 3-4 different types of popcorn being brought to take tax at different rates. But that's something that we have to live with given how our GST structure has been there, because the states also have to have some decision-making calls that they have to take, and therefore we've gone into the 8-digit HSN, which really means we will have a lot of subcategories in taxation and rates. What we need to remember while we are looking at all of these things is that the rates on all of these is not decision of one government anymore. So this is not like what it was pre-GST, that it gets taken at the union budget and there's an announcement on number of items and number of rates. It is a decision of the GST Council, and a lot of these gets discussed. Variety of things come into the play as to each state has a different view on why certain rates have to be where it is. So I don't think it is as silly as it appears. It's one thing to comment on social media and make jokes about it, but I think there's there are layers, like the finance minister said. And as somebody who's practicing tax, some of these will be there, and some of these clarifications, and I would still say it is a clarification, are important, and it needs to go that way.
Got that. Karthik Mani, I wanted to ask you, a lot of announcements came about topics which we were expecting will come out, or there will be some clarification or some firmity at the end of this GST Council meeting. A lot of them have been deferred, postponed, or moved to fitment panels. I just wanted to get your view about some of these, like, for example, the whole thing around ATF, or for example, on food delivery.
So the announcements that got deferred, personally, I felt from an insurance perspective, this has been deliberated from a very long time. Whether the life insurance, the term insurance, and the health insurance, whether this should be exempted or not. And these are globally practiced, that GST or any VAT or anything on the tax front is not levied on insurance, especially when it comes to health insurance. But I think what Finance Minister announced that the states are not agreeing for relaxation on this, and further deliberation is required in this aspect. So that is something, if the government fast tracks and does the decision before March, it will be great, because it will help a lot of insurers, because this is something, let's say there will be a lot of renewals that will be happening in the month of March. So that will definitely help the masses. And second thing is on the, as you rightly said, food delivery apps. It's an issue that they are facing today, where there are DGJ investigations, a lot of notices are being issued to these delivery apps. Even though the amendments or the changes that the GST Council is discussing may not give relief to them, but it will at least help them with the rate reduction. But it will be very important that the government has to factor the input tax credit part of it, because the government is looking only at the rate reduction, but how adversely that will impact if the government restricts the input tax credits to these players, that they have to keep in mind before making the decision. Maybe that is a reason why they have held it back. They are deliberating whether ITC should be allowed to these players, considering that they spend a lot on inputs.
I'll come back to the insurance issue, because that's something that requires a little bit more discussion, considering it affects almost everybody in the country. So we will discuss that with all of our guests. But let me get in Shivam Mehta of Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan attorneys. Mr. Mehta, I want to get your view, initial views at least, and then we can cut into details a little bit further.
See, my initial views are this council meeting, we were expecting a lot of things to come. One was rate rationalization of 148 items. Then what Karthik said about insurance, even delivery partners, so far as these food platforms are concerned, they were expecting some relief from the GST Council. And of course, ATF, not to, we must mention about ATF because ATF is a big cost. The tax rate on ATF is right now around 27 to 30%, which becomes cost for the airlines. So there was a request from civil aviation that ATF should be brought under GST net so that at least the credit can be availed by the airline industry, and they need that support from the government. Now, if I look at how the GST revenues have gone so far, there has been consistent 8 to 9% increase year on year so far as GST revenues are concerned. It's really surprising why states are not agreeing to these requests. If you look at insurance, the annual cost will be only 2,500 crores. Now, insurance has been taken a back seat because few of the states have not agreed. ATF, they have clearly said no. 148 items which were up for rate rationalization, the meetings, the government of ministers have sat on it. There is no discussion on that. We had some release on fortified rice kernels because there was a need there, because in 45th GST Council meeting, they had created a confusion of a GST rate on it. They were meant for PDS system, like our finance minister said. They brought the clarification saying it will be 5%. Popcorn, which is not a major issue there, but I understand when she was explaining that popcorn, because of sugar coated popcorns, should be falling under a category which is 18%, but still there is a doubt that they have clarified. So these are very small segment of overall economy which they have taken care of. But major things which the country was waiting for, at least in this fag end of the year, with some good news, has not taken place. If I can say, I'm not very happy with today's GST Council meeting, hoping for a better one in January, which they said they are going to have again.
All right, Shiva Mehta, not very happy with the outcome of the meeting. Let me go to Jayashree Parthasarathy again. The insurance issue, now that's been debated and discussed at length over the last at least a few months, since some letters were exchanged between various ministries, including states, pitching for, at least removing that GST from life and health insurance. I just want to get your view, Jayashree Parthasarathy. What exactly is the situation, to your mind, the debate exactly? Because it seems that most people agree that there is a need to give that relief to the common citizen, but a decision still seems a little far.
Yeah. So, interestingly, we don't have a very robust categorization of essential services as we have of essential goods in the country. We do have certain essential services like healthcare, education, etc., which is exempt. But to my mind, insurance perhaps should fall under that category. Whether it should be zero, whether it should be a very low rate of 5% is something that perhaps we can look at. But I'm guessing that while from a consumer standpoint, an exemption does seem very attractive. What typically happens if we look at it from a business standpoint is that the minute the output is exempt, there is a whole lot of cost which gets incurred on the input side. And the input tax credit becomes ineligible. So it's not that an exempt or an exemption or an exempt service becomes relatively reasonable or cheap. It would still end up getting loaded with tax cost on the input side. Coupled with that, for services sector, unlike goods, the GST law currently doesn't provide for a refund where the tax on the input side is higher than the tax on the output side. So my sense is, while yes, we should look at definitely a lower rate, if not a nil rate, for basic health insurance and term life insurance up to a particular limit. I'm guessing the matter is a little complex. Perhaps the government needs to weigh in 2-3 different aspects to this. One is, what is going to be the cost of the insurance to the common man? What might become the cost of business to insurance companies if they are unable to claim credit or take a refund of inverted tax credit? And all of these, I guess, and last but not least, what happens to the exchequer itself, right? So definitely being an essential service to my mind or a near essential service, we should look at a lowering of the rate, if not exemption. But I'm guessing that more work needs to be done to balance out these, divergent and varying interests between what the business cost is going to be, end consumer price is going to be, and the revenue collection is going to be.
All right, let me get Ajay here, your views on the insurance matter, as well as she made a clarification about EVs, electric vehicles, and how the taxation would work there. She's clarified that 5% on new purchases of cars does not change at all. Even a person selling their electric vehicle to another person doesn't really attract that higher sort of GST slab. It's mostly coming for companies. I wanted to get your views on both these issues, sir.
Yeah, so on health insurance, really nothing more to add than what Jayashree has said. And I think the key point there being, a zero rate or a nil rate or exemption will not really, make it 18% cheaper for the consumers today. That's something that we have to remember. And therefore, there is definitely more work that has to be done. And that's really the reason that this has been taking as long as it's been taking. And if you see, this was discussed not now, many years back in terms of rate reduction, and then states have their views. Therefore, it is going to take some time. On EVs, I think the clarification and what the FM said is extremely important, and not to just go by taking few phrases out of the press conference in terms of a rate on EV. I think she was extremely clear that if a new EV is sold, the government is still continuing supporting the sector, and therefore the rate is going to be a beneficial rate of 5%, and there's no change in that. What they spoke about is only a second sale of a used EV. And that also the FM clearly said that if, for example, I was selling a EV which I've used and I sell it to somebody else, two individuals, a transaction, there would be no tax and that would continue. It's really when a company buys EVs, is in the business of trading in second-hand EVs. We have a lot of, multi-brand used car platforms, multi-brand used car showrooms that are there. Now, those start trading in EVs, there will be a tax. And what we need to remember here is the rate of tax is today important even for the state, because while there's a lot of politics and noise about what gets distributed by the central government, we also need to remember on certain sales, and I'm not going to get into too many technical things here, but on certain sales, the state gets a 50% tax collection immediately. It does not need to wait for a distribution from the central government. Therefore, the rate increases. The states also have a stake in it, and the states also push for it. So it's not going to be again, like I said, to just repeat, not the decision of the finance minister, the rate of 18% or whatever rate that will be put on a second sale of EV. I'm sure the states would have also made a request for this. And this is important again as a clarification, because we would rather have this today than litigate and find out later that a second sale of EV is not 5% because it is not a manufacturer who is selling. But today it's clarified that if a used EV is being sold by a multi-brand platform, multi-brand showroom, there's going to be a higher tax.
All right. Clarification that this is not a one-person decision or a one government decision. Thank you for that, Ajay. I'll ask Karthik Mani the next question. The question is with regard to some of the announcements that came from on the agriculture front. Now, of course, these are relatively small. You mentioned the fortified rice point. There's also some relief coming in for pepper and raisin, agriculturists who grow these products. I wanted to get your view. How much of a benefit do you think this seems will likely bring in, or do you think that this is mostly adjusting things at the margin?
It will definitely bring in benefit to the small players. So there are two things. One is rice kernels, as you said, it is going to help the end user. So wherever the rate is reduced, the end user who is using this will definitely get benefit out of this. And second, on the pepper and raisins, if the agriculturist himself sells it. So the point is very clear that if a distributor is selling it, there will be higher taxes on it. Let's say when the agriculturist sells it himself, so there is an exemption given. So it is a good move wherever the small agriculturists who are selling it on their own definitely will get benefited out of this. And one more amendment that the finance minister highlighted is relating to the food items that will be given for the purpose of certain specific schemes where the food is given on free of cost to the like poorer community. So in those cases also they have said that there will be an exemption subject to conditions, but on the food articles there will be an exemption that is given. So that's also a good move that has come.
All right. Shiva Mehta, the question to you is with regard to some of the announcements on the financial services side. You've got, UPI transactions under 2,000, so payment aggregators in that get the benefit, with the clarification being that payment gateways are not included in that. You've got some announcements coming in on the penal charges that banks as well as NBFCs collect from borrowers. That won't attract a higher tax. Now, I wanted to get your view on, is this more in terms of getting it clear upfront so that the financial services players and the people who are benefiting from those services both are clear on how much exactly they need to pay?
Okay, so on the penal charges which are charged from the borrowers by the financial institutions, there has been always an understanding that is more in the nature of damages for the breach of the contract, right? So there is no GST whatsoever. Now, today, what has been clarified is that because they are not in the nature of consideration, there is no supply there. So there'll be no GST on it. So it will more likely than not, my sense is when you look at the fine papers, it will come as a more like a clarification, no change in the rate there. On the other hand, when I look at the more important amendment or more important change so far as rate is concerned could be the compensation cess, which is so far as the export goods are concerned. Now, what was happening is if I'm the manufacturer, I manufacture the goods and sell it to you, and you are exporting it, my basic rate of tax was reduced to, GST was reduced to 0.1%, but the compensation cess remains unchanged. So if it is 12%, so far as motor vehicles are concerned, it is as high as 22%. I was supposed to pay 22% and claim the refund. So it was resulting into working capital blockage. That is something that demand was there from automobile industry that was pending for quite long, that they have clarified, or rather they are amending it to say even the compensation cess will be 0.1, which is a big relief so far as exporters are concerned, which also had a mention in the finance minister's speech. But penal charges, I suppose it's more like a clarification which is there.
All right. Jaishi Parsati, I wanted to ask one question with you, and I'm going to take a short sort of response from each of the guests. Just wanted to get your view on what you think is probably the key announcement that has come in. To your mind, maybe that will probably mean a lot more than just a GST Council announcement.
So I think maybe a couple of conceptual things I would say. I think directionally, they are definitely saying that they want to give a clarity with respect to exemption or a lower rate on anything which is agricultural in nature. So she spoke about pepper, she spoke about raisins, and the endeavor to kind of, clarify and exempt whatever may be essential. She spoke about T-cell therapy for serious diseases, etc. So I think that's definitely a move in the right direction. The other aspect which I think this council meeting had from an agenda standpoint was there were, I think, items in the agenda which all dealt with, whether it's quick commerce, e-commerce, or new age, app-based services. While we've perhaps not had, the opportunity of having a resolution to some of those, I still feel that it's something in the right direction where the more the government is able to clarify on some of these nascent issues for new age economies and, nascent startups, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction because the theme definitely seems to be that we want to clarify, we want to bring in clarity, and we also want to mitigate litigation while we're at that.
Got that. Ajay, quick thoughts. What do you think is probably the one single announcement, or maybe two, that you think are crucial from this GST Council meet?
I would actually cover two crucial things which we have missed. I don't think, in my view, there's anything earth-shattering that's come out of the meeting. One is, I think we've again pushed rate rationalization.
Yes.
See, if GST was, is what it's supposed to be, which is a simple taxes, then rate rationalization is a key. Now, 21 is when the group of ministers on rate rationalization was set up, and they were given 2 months time to come up with a report, and we are in 24 end, and it's got deferred again, and with more time needed. I think we need to do what we did when we started with GST, that we may not get to a perfect solution, but we need to make a start. And I really think we need to get started on rate rationalization.
Right.
We cannot have the amount of rates we have today. And second is the point I think Shivam made, which is on ATF.
Right.
ATF is at a high rate today. The sector is struggling. We know airlines are struggling, and therefore.
But ma'am, there are a lot of enforcement action going on on the issue. So when could we expect some clarity on, and where we could have some roadmap on the matter, that when it could be clarified?
Shrimiji, as you mentioned about the delivery service which is provided by the e-commerce operator, your question is related to restaurant services, delivery provided in case of restaurant service?
Yes, sir.
So in case of restaurant service which is provided by electronic commerce ECO, electronic commerce operator, there, apart from the food from the restaurant, it is delivered at the doorstep of the customer who is making such order. So this delivery service, which is because these ECO, this restaurant service is notified, and a deeming provision has been created. So the ECO operator becomes the supplier of the restaurant service. In addition to restaurant service, a delivery is given at the doorstep of customer. So it becomes kind of composite service. So there was deliberation which took place that whether it should be at the rate of 5%, which is applicable to restaurant service, but in the council, after the deliberation, it has been decided that the fitment committee should look into all other aspects also, how it is going to impact the delivery which is performed in case of other ECO operators. So issue has been deferred for further deliberation, and in due course it will be brought before the GST Council for clarification.
So sir, till then what will happen to the notices sent to these food delivery platforms, sir, on the same issue, delivery services?
The notices have been issued as per the appreciation of law by the investigating agencies, and these notices will take their own course. But the issue will be deliberated by the fitment committee, and in due course will be brought before the GST Council for clarification. And the clarification will definitely have a bearing on the further course of action on those notices. In case those are confirmed, then it will have a bearing on when the matter will be taken up in appeal.
Sure, sir. Aap pujiye.
Ma'am, Shankar.
All right, so that was my colleague Shrimi Chaudhary, who was there at the GST Council press meet. She was asking the question around these food delivery apps and the tax notices that have gone to them. Ajroti, you were talking, and I'm sorry we had to cut in for my colleague's point, but just if you can just tell us a little bit about what you were speaking, but the ATF point that you were mentioning, because that was crucial.
So I think we've, that's another miss. Just to lay out the context, ATF and natural gas is today outside GST, like petrol, diesel, etc. is. ATF, the problem is the rates. VAT in addition to excise duty that's charged is quite high and effectively comes to 30% in a lot of states. So that is impacting the sector, one, because of increased cost. And second, ATF manufacturing and ATF production itself has certain inputs which have GST. Therefore, there's another leakage there because of the output not being liable to GST. I think bringing ATF into GST was one of the key things that should have been considered today. Of course, there will be revenue implications for states, and that's why probably it could have got deferred, but these are two things. I think there needs to be a push, and we need to move forward on some of these things to make GST, what it was meant to be, which is one tax and a simple tax. So again, to sum up, rate rationalization, getting GST, getting ATF and other things into GST should be the key, and those two are big misses according to me in this particular meeting.
Understood. All right. Karthik Mani, your view, quick answers. What is probably the announcement to focus on from this GST Council meet?
I'll follow what Ajay was going on instead of what was announced, what is missed out. What is missed out, I think this time the GST Council has decided to deliberate on points than bringing in a change suddenly. Like what happened with the gaming industry, a sudden change came into picture. The industry had to go through a lot of pain. So they have not done that. Let's say whether it's food delivery app, overall as an e-commerce, I think the government is looking at a broader framework. They have to come up with not with identifying individual issues and solving those issues, have a broader framework for the entire e-commerce sector, whether it is entities like cab operators or entities who are in food delivery or e-commerce itself, marketplace. So that is one good thing that the government is deliberating and trying to bring in some solutions which is business friendly. Hopefully that is a change that's going to come out. And the second thing is the changes that they have brought in, they are in line with the rate rationalization. And once the rate rationalization happens, hopefully we will have a system where we will have less complexities on the rates. Because today we face a lot of challenges on the identification of rates. Like whether it's like, let's say popcorn is a best example. Now they have given clarity. We need the clarity instead of somebody going for an advanced ruling or deliberating on which HSN should follow on. So government has given clarity on the rates. So that is something to.
All right. Lastly, Shivam Mehta, you started this conversation saying that you're not very happy with the outcome of the council meeting. But what do you want to close this entire conversation on?
Okay, just to finish what I started with. Now, if you understand the compensation cess which is levied on many items like cars, tobacco, cigarette, etc., that's going to get phased out in March 2026. Okay, now we are at the start of 2025 at least. So we have 15 months left. Once this compensation cess phase out, they need additional 20,000 crores to compensate the states. At the same time, we were waiting for rate rationalization of 148 items, right? Now, these two things cannot come in tandem. You have to slowly bring these changes. So why I said I was not very happy was I thought there was some decisions which will be taken so far as insurance is concerned, or about some of the products which are there in 148 list items, which they are talking about rate rationalization, but there is no consensus whatsoever. ATF is a big setback. I've already spoken about it. But now each meeting, as the day passed by, each meeting of GST councils becomes crucial because March 26 compensation cess is going to phase out. And you need additional 20,000 crores to compensate the states. So you necessarily have to look around the items. At the same time, you are looking at the rate rationalization. Both the things cannot happen in tandem. You definitely have to take each meeting seriously and take a decision there and move on with it. That's what my take is.
All right, Shivam Mehta, thank you so much for those thoughts. That's all the time we have on this show. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the guest panel. Jayashree Parsati, Ajay Roti, Karthik Mani and Shivam Mehta. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And that's the show. Thank you so much for watching NDTV Profit. Stay tuned for more news and updates.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Sabina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
We set you up for the day's trade. 30 calls before the markets open on NDTV Profit.
Jubilant food above a 600 level on Friday.
Wipro can be first to buy all commodities, but in that Vedanta looks good.
Our experts give you the top stock ideas to prepare you for the day.
ICICI Lombard stocks hit the first target.
It has given a very good momentum with good volume.
Don't miss the chance to make the right moves. Only on NDTV Profit, where winners are made before the bell rings.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Log Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever NDTV Auto Conclave. Auto Conclave driving the future of mobility in India, presented by True Alt Bioenergy with JK Tyres as our special partner and Skoda Auto India, Lectrix EV and Motorola as associate sponsors. We are at a defining moment for the automotive world, a transformative crossroads where innovation has to meet responsibility and sustainability to drive progress. India, with its bold vision and pioneering spirit, is poised to lead this change towards a brighter mobility future. This conclave is a convergence of the brightest minds. Industry leaders, policy makers, and innovators come together to chart the course of the future of mobility in India.
According to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, 1,68,491 people were killed and 4,43,366 injured in 4,61,312 road crashes in India in 2022. Now in 2023, unfortunately, India continues to top road accidents fatalities globally with over 1.72 lakh deaths in road crashes. You had come out with the India Status Report on Road Safety 2024 in respect with the international goals of reducing road accident fatalities. Where are we on that?
So we looked at our data and we looked at the disaggregate data by state-wise. And in last 5 years, we find there are 10 states where the number of deaths have come down. But unfortunately, in the remaining states, the number of deaths have increased. And overall, total number of deaths continue to increase.
Mr. Garg, that's where I would like to come to you. When you were here in Delhi during your tenure, there was a significant dip in the number of deaths. When we talk about road accidents, also drunken driving. If you could tell us, what did you do right during that time and what is the learning experience that other people could learn from this?
When we were there, managing traffic of Delhi for 3 years, we saw within 3 years deaths coming down from 2,325 to 1,866 within 3 years, which is about 20% reduction. So as you mentioned, we did a lot of things differently from what was being done earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. I'm joined by a very special guest, Anish Saad, the Group CEO and Managing Director of the Mahindra Group, a federation of companies that spans over 20 industries across more than 100 countries. Under Dr. Shah's leadership, Mahindra is not only driving innovation in traditional sectors, but is also making bold strides in the electric vehicle market. With models like the BE6 and the XEV9e, Mahindra is redefining mobility and cutting-edge technology. Let's delve into how Mahindra is steering towards a sustainable future, the challenges of the EV industry, and the group's expansive vision for global growth. Thank you very much, Dr. Anish Shah, for being with us. It's wonderful to speak to you once again. I suppose the first question that I must ask you is on your new electric vehicles. They are fantastic to look at. They've sort of stolen my heart. You're forcing me to put some money away for them. But the designs are radical. And some would suggest that that would have been a real leap of faith. How radical do you go with your car designs? What is Mahindra's philosophy?
Vishnu, our philosophy is to
create the best products that we can for customers. We want them to be compared with products in multiple segments above where we are. And we're redefining quality for the Indian customer. Because what we have created in our ICE vehicles over the past few years, as well as in our EV vehicles today, is a very, very different level of quality. And that encompasses design, right? Handling, interiors, safety, performance, all factors.
Welcome to the next session today at the NDTV Auto Conclave. Let's talk about the dawn of new energy vehicles, a pivotal discussion on the transformative shift in India's automotive landscape. As the world transitions towards a more sustainable future, new energy vehicles are emerging as a game changer. With the government's push for electrification, NEVs are poised to revolutionize the way India moves. Today we delve into the opportunities, challenges and future prospects of NEVs in India and explore how these vehicles can propel the country towards a cleaner, greener and a more sustainable transportation future. It's really a pleasure to have you both with us. I think to begin with, I would want to know about what both the companies are doing. Let's begin with you, Jyoti. Let's talk about Volvo. What really are they doing when it comes to a more sustainable future?
First of all, thank you to have me here in this conclave. And I think it's very apt that we're talking about new energy vehicles.
Yeah.
Because at Volvo, we are pushing towards a future which is more sustainable and with electrification in the center. Our aim is that over a period of time, we believe that we need to push for electrification. By end of this decade, we want to get to a higher number of electric cars.
Yeah.
And that is required because it is not that our company needs it. I think it is required from a larger perspective because the planet needs it. Because I think sustainability is something which we need to solve and we need to take care of now.
Satinder, your take on what the company is doing?
So, thank you very much, first of all, for having us here. And namaskar to all of you. I think as JSW MG Motors India, I just tell you one thing, that out of the total portfolio that we have today and what we sell in the Indian market, almost 60% of that, more than 60%, what we sell is new energy vehicles, right? As an organization, we are a very, environment conscious organization right from the beginning. And we know what role as a responsible manufacturer that we need to play. And therefore, we were pioneers in terms of bringing in the good technology, EVs to the country. And we continue to do that.
Well, I'm delighted to be here with Pratap Bose, the visionary chief designer behind Mahindra's striking vehicle lineup. Known for his transformative designs at Mahindra, Pratap will share insights into the creative process that's redefining Indian automotive aesthetics.
Thank you, NDTV. What a pleasure to be here, albeit virtually. Vishnu, in the life of a car designer, you have very few chances to actually start with a clean sheet of paper. And, when we started this whole project in 2021, around June, July, when I joined the company, it was literally a clean sheet of paper. And I had a one-line brief from Rajesh Jejurikar, who's the executive director. He just said, Pratap, design a set of EVs which are truly desirable. Design a set of cars which are truly desirable, and then they happen to be EVs. So that's the thought process we went in with. Vishnu, we were also creating our new electric origin architecture called InGlow. So it was an amazing time to work with the engineers, the product planners, to really define what this future EV lineup would be. And in August 22, we actually showed 5 vision cars. And, just earlier last month, or 26th of November, we brought 2 of those into the world.
Maruti Suzuki, the one company that has been able to weather all sorts of challenges and remained on top of India's passenger vehicle segment. Maruti gears up to launch its first electric vehicle in India next month. I now have the privilege of speaking to Mr. Rahul Bharti, ED Maruti Suzuki Limited. Thank you so much, Rahul-san, for joining us today. Now, I know you are going to launch EV, but I want to first dive straight into Maruti's position in global world. We have seen Maruti increase its export portfolio multi-fold over the last few years.
That's true.
So, what propelled you to do that, and how is the journey going, and how are you making sure that Maruti Suzuki becomes the global auto powerhouse?
I think multiple reasons. The first is the domestic demand growth alone cannot satisfy our ambition for Viksit Bharat. Whether it is for the country or for our company, our growth ambitions need a complementarity which can come from global trade. And exports is an ocean. Global trade, India still has not captured a large part of the world. When we talk about the domestic market size, we are third in the world of the car market. We are the third largest car market of the world. But in terms of exports, we are probably around the 10th. The top 10 are in millions. We are still in lakhs. So we have an amazing amount of headroom ahead of us, and it's lying there to capture.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Samina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
We set you up for the day's trade. 30 calls before the markets open on NDTV Profit.
Jubilant food above a 600 level on Friday.
Wipro can be first to buy all commodities, but in that Vedanta looks good.
Our experts give you the top stock ideas to prepare you for the day.
ICICI Lombard stocks hit the first target.
It has given a very good momentum with good volume.
Don't miss the chance to make the right moves. Only on NDTV Profit, where winners are made before the bell rings.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
Welcome, Mr. Sanjay Kapoor, the leader behind Sodacom Star, a global powerhouse in automotive ancillary. That's what we used to say earlier, but now is auto tech. Now, first of all, tell us about this transition from being an auto ancillary manufacturer to focusing a lot on tech as well.
So I think more than just auto to tech, it's auto to mobility. If we look at our industry, it's actually transformed from an automotive industry to supply into the mobility industry. And when I talk about mobility, it could mean any form of mobility, from drones to bots to, to any form of mobility which is being used either for people or carrying goods, etc. That's one part of it. The second part is, if you look at the way the industry is disrupting, technology has become essential now. Companies have to invest in R&D, companies have to invest in technology just to stay current. And then, of course, where companies want to look into the future, you have to invest in technology. Technology has become absolutely key to survival. The fact is that with disruption that's happening, not just from a customer requirement, but even from regulation. And when you look at disruption in terms of safety, or if you look at it, disruption in terms of even mobility from a shared perspective, or, and your famous case, which is, which involves autonomous, electric, and shared. So, it's essential to invest in technology.
Maruti Suzuki, the one company that has been able to weather all sorts of challenges and remained on top of India's passenger vehicle segment. Now we will be taking the discussion forward with Mr. Hisashi Takeuchi, MD and CEO, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. May I request you, sir, to come on stage, please? We are thrilled to have you here, Takeuchi-san. The first question I have for you is, Maruti has been a leader in the Indian automobile sector. Now, what do you believe has been the key to its long-standing success, and how do you envision the company's future in India over the next decade?
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this very exciting event. And everybody understand that how we started our business in India. So our company is aiming to put India on wheel. That is the aim. And at that time, together with the passion of Indian people, together with the Japanese technology, make it possible to introduce very innovative car at that time, Maruti 800, and that is the start of Indian automobile story. And now India became the third largest market in the world.
But what are the key challenges that you see in Indian market, and what is Maruti Suzuki doing to overcome those challenges?
So the real challenge is, our dream to put India on wheel is half, achieved, but still, in terms of car penetration, India is only like 30 cars per 1,000 people, which is like in the developed market, it is about 600. So we still have, opportunity to grow 20x from now.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Deepak Jain, for joining us today. Mr. Jain is chairperson, Lumax Group, are named synonymous with excellence and innovation in the automotive industry. We are thrilled to have you here, Mr. Jain. Thank you so much. Now, Indian component industry has become a big manufacturing hub. We already spoke about it, almost 25% of manufacturing GDP. And I saw that number, I was actually really surprised. Tell us, what are the core strengths of Indian component manufacturing industry?
Thank you very much for having me over. I think the component industry is very diverse. It's got the domestic OEM, it's got the aftermarket, it's also got a massive export opportunity. And I think recently with the trends, there is also a balance which the component industry has to do between value and volume. Because as the regulations are coming in, there is a massive value upstreaming which is happening in the component industry.
We will now focus on the love of riding. Thanks, Ravi, for joining us today and talking about your passion for riding. First question to you, how big is this leisure riding industry in India, and how has it grown in over the last few years that you have seen it?
Well, it would be difficult to put a number to it, but I think what has been driving...
I want experience.
What's been driving that boom in India is a realization that you don't necessarily need great infrastructure to go touring. In fact, the lack of it very often makes for a better motorcycling experience. But that increase in infrastructure over the last few years makes it easier getting to places. Now you can get to Manali. If you leave in the morning, you can be there in the evening. And it's quite easy to get up to the Himalayas. A person can take a week off and do a reasonable trip. Also, we've seen more infrastructure come up. Also, we have a race circuit in Delhi, which we didn't have 15 years ago. So we've seen a lot of improvement in both the sports side of it and also the touring side of it. And it's been positive.
India is a little bit of a difficult market in the sense that, yes, biking community is rising, but we've also seen that the top premium market is not seeing as much growth as it was expected earlier. What's the reason for that? Have you ever given it a thought?
I've given it lots of thought, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think there's been a boom in the middleweight segment, and to define that, that's the segment between 350 and 500 cc, priced roughly between 2 lakhs and 4 lakhs, and that's somewhat affordable when you break it down into EMIs. And it takes a lot of riding before someone actually has more skill than the motorcycle does, before he's actually outgrown that motorcycle. And I think it's a lot more usable, it's economical, so there's a gravitation towards the middleweight segment.
Today, we are graced by the presence of a visionary leader, a dedicated public servant, and a true champion of innovation and development. Under his remarkable leadership, India's infrastructure landscape has transformed significantly, setting benchmarks in road connectivity, sustainable development, and futuristic planning. We are truly privileged to have him here today to share his insights and inspire us with his wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our chief guest for the NDTV Auto Conclave, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Minister of Road, Transport and Highways, Government of India. May I invite Mugdha Mishra, Editor, NDTV Auto, and Vishnu Shom, Group Executive Editor, NDTV, to escort Shri Gadkari ji on stage.
Come, sir. Sir, आपको एक बटन दबाना है यहाँ to launch our
हमारी NDTV Auto की website launch कर रहे हैं. This is the button, sir.
डिजिटल टैबलेट है, इसी से जैसे आवाज आ गई ना, मैं शेड्यूल
We'll gear up now for an electrifying conversation with the Union Minister Nitin Gadkari. He is the architect behind India's road revolution. We'll delve into the high-octane world of India's transport sector, from world-class highways, reshaping our landscapes, to the surge in electric vehicles sparking a green revolution. Throughout the day, we focused a lot on India's transition to electric vehicles, EVs. The numbers we have in India, while encouraging, still lag behind, for example, China. But it is your endeavor to actually make us a global leader. What are you doing to ensure that happens?
Our automobile industry is very important as far as the economic growth of our country is concerned. When I taken charge as minister, the size of the industry was 7 lakh crore. And our number was something 7th in the world. But today we just surpassed Japan, and now our number is 3rd, and the volume of our industry is 22 lakh crore. Now the USA is number 1, having the size of 78 lakh crores. The second number is China, it is 47 lakh crore, and India is 22 lakh crore. I am confident that within 5 years, our Indian automobile industry will be number one in the world. You just see that. The way in which the industry is developing. And presently, I always telling to people कि हम आज ऊर्जा को आयात करने वाला देश है. हाइड्रोजन शुरू होने के बाद ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन हम ऊर्जा को निर्यात करने वाला देश बनेंगे. हम ऊर्जा को निर्यात करेंगे. I feel that it is in the reach. It is going to happen.
We talk about sustainability, but we have to get rid of scrap metal efficiently. What is the solution?
First of all, I will give the thanks to automobile industries. They are now the person who have their car scrapping certificate. They are getting 2 to 3% discount for purchasing new car or new vehicle. So that is to be first thing. Second thing, we have some 60, 70 plants already started. But the fitness center we don't have.
Right.
That where every district will have 4 to 5 fitness centers and at least 10 to 20 driver training centers where this combination will be economically viable and 100%. After this certificate of their fitness, then we can take the decision for scrapping of that car.
Round of applause for that. We're on this program. We've got the minister saying that within hours he's going to push to get this done by signing documentation. Thank you, sir. Sir, it's always wonderful speaking to you. You're really a visionary, and I think the takeaway for us is matching ecological concerns, development concerns. It all has to come together in a balanced policy which looks at road safety, which looks at the well-being of our citizens, which looks at the future of our highways. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Neeraj, by the way, let me compliment you and your channel. I find very insightful discussions. Even, if I have to know more about India, those are the discussions I hear, right? So kudos to you, Tamanna and Samina. I found it very, very insightful all the time.
Hello and welcome to KYC, a brand new NDTV Profit show. In this fast-paced world of stock markets, investors are bombarded with information, but what they often lack is a deep, comprehensive understanding of companies they invest in. KYC, or Know Your Company, is a show designed to give you, regular investors, powerful, actionable insights into the fundamentals of a single NSE-listed company every single day. And today, we're taking up Senco Gold. Now, Senco Gold has actually seen considerable gains over the past few years. In fact, it has moved from strength to strength. This specific jewelry retailer was incorporated back in 1994. And at the moment, it is a pan-India jewelry retailer. It sells gold, diamond jewelry, as well as other precious metals in terms of its inventory too. And in terms of its stores, total stores out there are about 166. It also has about 67 franchisees. And overall, it does seem like it's on its way to the expansion path. But as we do in all the shows, we're going to talk about a handful of parameters here, which you could consider in terms of, bringing you about how the performance of the company has been and the kind of ratings that we here at NDTV Profit give on the various parameters. So we do consider the income statement, the balance sheet, return ratios and cash flows. And besides that, we're also considering, the shareholding pattern, among others, street credentials, in terms of how the company has done, street coverage, as well as valuations. And to help us out with these ratings, I have with me my colleague Mahima Vachrajani, who's also going to take us through, in fact, these very many parameters here. And we'll try and figure out the thumbs on these, thumbs up or thumbs down on these, and give you a final rating on the company. Mahima, thank you so much for joining in. Why don't you just take us through the kind of growth that the company has seen, and in terms of operational profitability as well?
Absolutely, Agam. So in terms of the income statement check, it's a complete thumbs up for the company.
Yeah.
And in terms of revenue, the FY24 numbers stood at 5241 crores, and the 3-year CAGR of revenue growth has been 25%. In terms of EBITDA, the EBITDA stood at 377 crore, and 3-year CAGR for EBITDA has also been 26%. In terms of EBITDA margin, the EBITDA margin has remained range bound. It's been around 7.2% in FY24. But in terms of net profit, the net profit stood at 181 crore, and it's seen a 3-year CAGR growth of 43%. So in terms of all the 4 key parameters, Agam, it's a thumbs up for this particular company. They've seen double-digit growth across the 3 parameters, except for, of course, the margins. The margins have remained range-bound.
Right. Well, range-bound, but well, the fact that you see that growth, which means it's translated into the bottom line as well. But let's talk about the balance sheet then. Now, the network stands at a healthy nearly 1,370 odd crores. It does have a substantially higher debt, but we must remember that this company is in the growth phase, which means that when it comes to expansion, it has been investing a lot. So its gross debt stands at around 1,500 crores, but you must also remember that it also has cash flows, or rather not cash flows, pardon me, but cash reserves on its balance sheet as of FY24, which stands at around 552 odd crores. So on a net basis, its debt level, or its overall debt level, is lower. When in general, of course, this also brings that net debt to equity ratio at as a number considerably lower than 1. So based on that, we will at the moment give it a thumbs up. But what about the return ratios, Mahima?
Right. I mean, return ratios for this particular company has been a bit disappointing, because in terms of return on equity, we've seen that in 2022, the return on equity stood at around 15.6%, but that has come down from 14.2% in 2023 to 12.5% in 2024. So I believe the stock is not catching up as to how the company has actually performed over the past 3 years. And in terms of the return on capital employed also, we've seen a downtick. In 2022, the return on capital employed was approximately 19.4%, which came down to around 19%, so similar range of 2022. But in 2024, we've seen a downtick of around, it's come down to around 15.7% level. So it's a thumbs down when it comes to return ratios. I believe the stock will probably see gains going forward, but at present, the return on equity stands around 12.5%.
Right. And of course, we must also remember that, a good ROE and ROC number is around 20-25% and northwards of that. So it does seem like at the moment, Senco Gold is not only falling short of that, but it's also coming off by quite a bit. But let's talk about cash flows. And well, on a cash flows from operation basis, we have seen a net outflow. But we must again also remember that the company is in its growth phase, which is why on a net cash flow basis as well, we're looking at a positive number, which hasn't been a very large one. But at least as far as FY24 is concerned, we've seen a little bit of an improvement in its cash flows as well, which is why we'll give it a neutral rating on this specific parameter coming in. But I will also go on and talk about the shareholding pattern. Now, as far as the shareholding pattern is concerned, it's a well-held company. So firstly, the promoters hold well over a third of the company, 67.5% to be precise, and another near 20% is being held by institutions. So when it comes to long-term investors and holders of the long-term, it's a substantially good number. That actually leaves with just a little over 14% with your retail shareholders, or